officials. It's been pretty intense. Of course, there was a lot of scrutiny right now that's been building over controversial boat strikes that have led to allegations of war crimes. He's also expected to make a major announcement sometime in the next hour or so, really whenever the cabinet meeting wraps up. We believe that is going to be in regards to billionaires Michael and Susan Dell pledging $6.25 billion today for Giving Tuesday to provide 25 million children under the age of 10 in the U.S. with an incentive to claim what's called a new investment account that's been dubbed the Trump accounts for children. It was created as a part of President Trump's tax and spending legislation. Again, we are waiting for that to happen, but this cabinet meeting is wrapping up right now with some question and answers, so we're going to listen into this for a bit.
Trying very hard to save 25 to 30,000 people, mostly men, mostly soldiers, every month. 25,000 to 30,000 soldiers. It's impossible. That's half a stadium. Take a big football stadium. Take half of those people in a stadium, and they're wiped out. They're killed every month. It's crazy. That war is crazy. It would have never happened with me, and it didn't happen for 4 years.
And you just mentioned potential land strikes. Can you elaborate anything on that?
Yeah, I'll elaborate. If they come in through a certain country or any country, or if we think they're building mills for whether it's fentanyl or cocaine. I hear Colombia, the country of Colombia, is making cocaine. They have cocaine manufacturing plants, okay? And then they sell us their cocaine. We appreciate that very much. But yeah, anybody that's doing that and selling it into our country is subject to attack.
So not necessarily just Venezuela?
No, not just Venezuela, no. Venezuela's been very bad. Venezuela's been really bad in something else, probably worse than most, but a lot of other people do it too. They would send murderers into our country. They would empty their jails into our country. They sent people into our country that we don't want. They sent their drug dealers and their drug people into our country. They sent people from their mental institutions into our country, and we're getting them out. That was bad. That was real bad. And they also sent drugs. Yeah.
On Tim Walz, Mr. President, do you think he should resign over the fraud scandal in his state?
And who should?
Tim Walz, over the fraud scandal in his state.
Look, I think the man's a grossly incompetent man. I thought that from the day I watched J.D. destroy him in the debate. I was saying, who was more incompetent, that man or my man? I had a man and he had a man. They were both incompetent, and I had a man and a woman. I thought she was very incompetent too, but now she's leading the field, and I think she's leading the field in this, for the nomination. Anyway, look, that's up to them. That's up to the Democrats. You know, the problem with them is they have really bad policy. And I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want them to change it necessarily because I want to run against it, whether it's not going to be me, it's going to be somebody that's going to probably sitting at this table. Could be a couple of people sitting at this table. Could be a couple of people running together sitting at this table, you know? But I want them to win because we've done a great job for this country, and I want that to be carried forward. And you know, I think we have a tremendous bench, really a tremendous bench. But no, I think that Walz is a grossly incompetent man. There's something wrong with him. Okay, there's something wrong with him. And when you look at what he's done with Somalia, which is barely a country, you know, they have no anything. They just run around killing each other. There's no structure. And when I see somebody like Ilhan Omar, who I don't know at all, but I always watch her for years. I've watched her complain about our Constitution, how she's being treated badly. Our Constitution, the United States of America, is a bad place. Hates everybody, hates Jewish people, hates everybody. And I think she's an incompetent person. She's a real terrible person. But when I watch what is happening in Minnesota, the land of 1,000 lakes, or however many lakes they have, they got a lot of lakes, but this beautiful place, and I see these people ripping it off, and now I'm understanding, and you're going to look at that, Scott, I hear ripped off Somalians, ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too. I can say it about other countries, too. We don't want them to hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell, and they complain, and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody.
Mr. President, has Maduro offered to leave?
All right, so we listened into the tail end of that cabinet meeting. It's been going on for the last hour or more there. There in the White House, you can see there were several members of his cabinet, pretty much all of them, that were there for this meeting. And we listened into just a bit of the question and answer there as President Trump was using that time to kind of rail against Somalia, Colombia, Venezuela, again, going back to the strikes that I was mentioning before we went to him that have become very controversial. The last set of strikes, especially where there are now allegations of war crimes as a result of two strikes that took place. The first one that it essentially decimated a boat that was on the water, but then a second one that killed two survivors there. So there's a lot of information, some misinformation out there as to what exactly took place with those strikes. I believe now the commander who was behind those strikes is now set to speak before lawmakers as a result of it, as they try to figure out who gave the order. What was it, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, or was it this commander who gave that second order for the second strike? So we are, again, still waiting on the big announcement that should be about the accounts, the big pledge, the $6.25 million for Giving Tuesday that's now been set to go into children's accounts throughout the country. I believe by July that's supposed to take place, but as of right now, we're still waiting on that. Again, that cabinet announcement was taking place first, so we'll see if they go back to back with these announcements, or maybe if he takes some time in between the two. But while we have some time, we want to move on to a conversation about something that's happening here in our state. It's broader throughout the country, but it has some implications right here at home now. While we're waiting for the live events, we want to discuss this issue of tax on tips, okay? We all know Illinois is a high tax state with one of the nation's largest property tax burdens, especially. And when those property tax bills came out just a few weeks ago, we pulled in the Cook County treasurer, the assessor. If you were watching us, we tried to get as many different perspectives as to what was going on there. One of the biggest points of contention was how the burden shifts from one group of people to another, or one area of Cook County to the next. The same argument could be made for carving out one industry. So Illinois is adopting the new federal no tax on tips provision. And here to make sense of it all, Manish Bhatt, he is a senior policy analyst for the Tax Foundation. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
So explain the new federal exemption and how it came to be, first and foremost.
Yeah, so the federal exemption, the deduction, is part of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, and a lot's been written, a lot's been said about that from my organization and others. And importantly, it fulfilled one of the campaign promises to not tax tips and overtime income. And states around the country are really wrestling with how to deal with this and whether or not there's revenue in the or revenue limits that are going to allow for this. And several states have decided to either decouple from this provision of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act or to not implement it, depending on how the state defines income.
And how is it that Illinois can opt out?
So Illinois, only those states that define income at the state level using federal taxable income as the definition have it immediately incorporated into their tax codes. Those states would have to decouple. Illinois uses adjusted gross income as its definition of income and therefore can choose whether or not to adopt the policy.
Now, you've said that while not taxing tips may sound attractive to workers, selective exemptions distort the tax code. How is that?
Well, whenever you selectively preference one group of taxpayers over others without adjusting the budget or adjusting spending, you're just shifting the burden onto another group. We see this, as you mentioned, in property taxes, and we're seeing this here. To say nothing of the fact that two individuals making roughly the same amount of money, living in the same city, could pay dramatically different income taxes based solely on the nature of their income. If the individual is earning tipped income, they would be able to take advantage of this deduction. The individual not earning tipped income would be paying a much higher tax bill. So that's a real stark example of two similarly situated taxpayers that have dramatically different tax bills only because of the way they're paid.
Really interesting. And then how could that, I guess, be manipulated even from an employer standpoint?
Yeah, there's no question that these sorts of incentives on tipped income or even overtime income might shift the way employers seek to pay their workers as an enhancement or an inducement to stay or retain or even hire new recruits under the promise of a no tax on tips. It's not good policy. There's better ways to structure income taxes, and states around the country would do well to follow the example of sound tax policy, low rates, broad bases, without carve-outs and incentives like this.
I want to loop back around to that in a moment here, but do you foresee this being an issue come tax filing time?
That is a great question. I do. I do, in fact, see this as a potential problem. And it's not because taxpayers would be seeking to not pay their taxes. It would be under this federal provision, they might not think to include that income on their state income tax forms. And so you might end up seeing taxpayers either unintentionally avoiding taxation or having to hire a professional preparer when they otherwise wouldn't need to.
Yeah. So going back to your statement about good policy, you said that this is an example where good politics doesn't always make good policy. What are some of the reforms that maybe are more widely accepted or that are just needed?
Well, you hit the nail on the head with respect to Illinois' complicated tax system. Certainly can be more competitive regionally and nationally. And when it comes to income taxation, or really any taxation, the idea should be keeping the rates as low as feasible and the base as broad as possible. We can have a higher standard deduction, for example, that might allow relief for the lowest income taxpayers while not providing a carve out for some. And so there's a host of opportunities out there, but carving out a relatively small portion of the population that might benefit the most from this without extending further relief to more taxpayers is a step in the wrong direction. And I will say the legislation has been introduced through legislation in a number of states. And even though the benefit is poorly targeted, it's important to keep in mind that workers in the bottom half of hourly wages, only 4% of those are in tipped professions. So if we're really trying to provide relief to low-income taxpayers, this is not the way to do it.
Really? Okay. And I guess maybe the flip side of that, do you think this will maybe encourage people to tip more?
I certainly don't know. That'd be a behavioral economics question. Certainly anything is possible.
Yeah. All right. So just on a final note here, are there some other changes this year that we should all prepare for come tax season that we can maybe talk about now?
Generally, I think all the provisions of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act are going to impact states and taxpayers around the country differently. What we're seeing very acutely in places like Cook County and in Illinois and around the country is this property tax revolt, and that is overshadowing some real reform efforts. But the implementation of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, state budgeting, and revenue forecasting, I think is gonna be a big topic of conversation during legislative sessions in Illinois and elsewhere.
All right, we'll keep our ears open for that. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a great rest of your day. Everybody, the city is considering an ordinance that would ban all hemp products, and business owners are now speaking about this. Their message is regulation, not prohibition. The press conference just began, so let's listen into this.
Rules to follow, but prohibition is not the answer. That will stifle the innovation. It'll hurt small businesses like us we're working to define this new market in a safe manner. Thanks to everyone for coming out today and hearing our concerns as we work together to regulate hemp beverages.
Next up, we've got Alex Choi of Perfectly Dosed.
Hi, my name is Alexander Choi, and I'm a local business owner based in Logan Square. I founded Perfectly Dosed, a hemp ingredient manufacturer at the University of Chicago, who was also our first investor. Today, we employ 15 Chicagoans at our Humboldt Park facility. 4 years ago, I envisioned a safe, accessible future for hemp. We set out to create a simple ingredient that small businesses could use to legally expand into hemp beverages. Today, we work with dozens of Chicago breweries and brands whose products support hundreds of local bars, restaurants, and shops. Our customers have created thousands of jobs and reached millions of Americans. In markets like Minnesota, Texas, and Florida, where hemp products are explicitly legal, they make up 10% or more of alcohol retailers' revenue. They are the lifeline, keeping mom-and-pop shops afloat amid declining demand. This ordinance was rushed behind the scenes over a holiday weekend while local business owners were spending time with friends and family. It is a prohibition that puts thousands of Chicagoan jobs at risk. It ignores how other cities and states are safely regulating hemp products so consumers aren't driven to the black market. There are models for how to safely regulate hemp products. This ordinance pretends they don't exist. If the language passes as written, it erases close to $100 million of investment in Chicago businesses and entrepreneurs. From your corner shop's family savings, to nationally recognized breweries like Revolution, to people like myself bringing new ideas to life in our universities. It singles out and attacks a diverse group of small businesses that were created in response to consumer demand, not the inverse. And it ignores Chicagoans' voices. 72% of Americans support keeping hemp products legal with regulations. We need to slow down, delay this vote, and take the time to listen to experts in consumer safety, manufacturing, distribution, and retail. They know how to put safety first without threatening Chicagoans' livelihoods. Thank you. And next we have Stephen Basu, co-founder of Hopewell Brewing.
Hey all, my name is Stephen Basu. I'm the co-founder of Hopewell Brewing, and today I'm representing the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild. Thank you all for having us here. Thank you, Josh. Beautiful tap room. The Illinois Craft Brewers Guild, we have a simple view on this. We deserve sensible regulation. Prohibition is not the way. Prohibition will not end where we want it to. Our organization, the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild, in Chicago, in the city, we have 53 members. That's 53 small businesses. That's 53 small manufacturers, 53 family-led businesses. This is the stuff dreams are made of, right? This is the stuff cities want. Chicago, this is our economy. This is what we're built on. Our members know how to make safe, enjoyable, delicious beverages. That's what we craft. It's in our lifeblood. Hemp beverages deserve the type of regulation that alcohol enjoys. This market, this already exists. This customer is out there. The city ordinance proposing a ban on hemp beverages in Chicago does not remove that market. It does not remove that customer. Instead, it takes what should be a regulated market, a regulated beverage, and pushes it to the side. It encourages the bad actors you're trying to remove to go ahead and start in the black market. Banning these beverages will not erase the hemp market. This market is here. Sensible regulation. Keeping adult beverages out of the hands of kids. 21 plus age gating. Licensed retailers. These are all simple things, sensible things we should be doing. Prohibition is not the way. Prohibition will not lead where we want. We urge the City Council to vote no on this ordinance. We urge the City Council to support small business. Thank you very much. Andrea, you're up.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrea Slindy, and I'm a co-founder of Plift and Perfectly Dosed. Plift is a hemp beverage company, and Perfectly Dosed manufactures water-soluble THC emulsions used by many of our peers across the industry. Together, we represent a rapidly growing sector of Chicago's beverage economy, one built on safety, compliance, and consumer choice. Plift was created to offer people alcohol-free alternatives that they can enjoy socially. For thousands of Chicago residents, hemp beverages provide a gentle, functional option to enjoy when you're out at bars, restaurants, or gathering with friends. These products are not just trends. They're meaningful tools that support wellness and inclusion and harm reduction. For me, the mission is deeply personal. My sister has struggled with alcoholism and has been sober for 2 years. Drinks like Plift have helped her maintain that sobriety by offering her a way to relax and unwind without feeling pressured to return to alcohol. Today, she can walk into any Binny's or any liquor store knowing that there's a section created for people just like her. She buys hemp beverages weekly from retailers that she never imagined she could safely enter again. That is what responsible, accessible alcohol alternatives can do for real people. We must continue giving Chicagoans the ability to choose products that support their health, lifestyle, and recovery. Removing these options will not make our city safer. It will take away critical alternatives for people who need them. As the hemp beverage industry expands, so does every sector that it touches, from manufacturing and distribution to restaurants, retailers, and small business entrepreneurship. This creates jobs, tax revenue, and opportunities for women and minority-owned businesses. A sudden ban would unwind years of progress overnight. That's why I'm urging City Council to delay the vote and engage directly with founders, retailers, and community stakeholders. We are ready to collaborate on fair and safe regulation that protects consumers while preserving access to responsible, compliant hemp products. Thank you.
Next up, Danny Romano.
Good afternoon. My name is Danny Romano, and I'm the owner of Romano Beverage. It's a liquor, wine, and THC distributor in Illinois, and we service the state of Illinois. And I can't agree more with Todd and everyone else has said. Prohibition does not work. It has not worked. It is proven it has not worked, and I'm a great benefactor of that since my grandfather started our business in 1913, and we've continued it throughout the ages. And we ended up selling our first company a while ago, and we kept Romano Beverage. And Romano Beverage is a company that we employ about 35 union employees. We service about 6,000 accounts in the state of Illinois, and I think about 1,200 sell THC products. And as they said earlier, it's all legal, it's all available to anyone who wants it over 21. It's targeted, it's labeled, and you can't miss it. You have to be 21 to purchase these items. And it has been a very, very good, a great financial boost to our company. Last year, THC beverages were about 1/2 of 1% of our business. 1/2 of 1%. In 2025, it will be 25% of our business. 25% of our business. And we have gone from, we've just hired, 3 people just to sell THC. We're going to have a whole division that's going to be selling THC. Why? Because the market demands it. The market wants it. And the market is, what I see the market is a lot of women, yoga mothers, soccer mothers, people that want a nice alternative to alcohol, so they have less calories, no hangovers. I mean, it's been a boom for us and a boom for them. And as they talked earlier, we have our operations company. They have about 40 people that actually distribute the products throughout the state of Illinois. So it is it affects a lot of people. It affects a lot of families. It affects a lot of our families. It would affect our family. This thing has grown. It's grown because there's a demand for it. And when there's a demand for it, we ask that the legislature take time and figure it out. They did it with Prohibition. We send a lot of tax dollars to the state of Illinois, my company. A lot of tax dollars to the state of Illinois, about $1 million a month. Okay, now we're asking the people to think about it. There's a way that the state can make some money on this product. Take your time, do it right. There is a demand for this product. There is a need for this product. And if we don't fulfill this need, it's going to go somewhere else, and it's going to hurt a lot of families and a lot of companies like mine. And I urge the commission, take your time, figure it out, and come up with a logical, sensible, and profitable solution to the state of Illinois. Thank you.
Next up is Lorenzo Chin from Big Onion Hospitality.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Lorenzo. I do marketing for Big Onion Hospitality, and we own and manage 3 sports.
Okay, so we were listening in there to several business owners here in our area as they discuss this proposal for a hemp ban. Just to kind of give you a little background here, one, they are at Revolution Brewing. We heard from the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild and many others. They represent 53 businesses, manufacturers, and distributors who say that this possible ban would essentially unravel years of progress. They are pushing for fair and safe regulation without prohibition. With Chicago being on the verge of banning all hemp products, including hemp beverages, any products with CBD, including even pet treats. They say that this is a move that could punish consumers and also hurt small businesses here. So they are speaking again at Revolution Brewing there to make their case as to why they need sensible regulation, but not prohibition here, not outright prohibition. So they are continuing on to speak there, but we want to go to Minnesota. There is a much bigger situation that's brewing there, as there is an investigation that was announced on Monday by the U.S. Treasury Secretary into possible fraud that's taken place in the state. But then also they have an ICE situation that's going on. That would be Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that kind of ties into that as well. Let's just listen into these leaders there in that area.
Whether that's our economics and local jobs, we celebrate that. Our community would not be the same without it. And so we continue to stand with the members of our Somali community. We continue to stand across municipal boundaries and across communities to say that the Twin Cities is not a place that tolerates or embraces hate, to say that the hateful and damaging rhetoric that we're hearing from Washington, D.C. right now is reprehensible, and it is not something that represents who our community is or who our country can be. And we call on ourselves. I call on myself in the face of hatred, in the face of division, in the face of what seems to be a strategy centered around intentional chaos, to lead with listening, to lead with compassion, to engage with humanity, and to ensure that we are every single day modeling the type of behavior, the type of approach, and the type of humanity that we sure wish our federal our federal representatives in Washington, D.C. would follow suit. We have the capacity as a local community to be that loving, incredible place. That's who we are. That's what we are. And that's certainly something that we don't need federal agents coming and disturbing. Thank you all for being here. And with that, I think I'm turning it over to Councilmember Ross. Oh, I'm sorry, to Councilmember Ross.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Jamal Osman. I am the council member of Ward 6, someone who represents the largest East African community in Minneapolis. I am proud to say I'm a Somali American. This country welcomed me and my family 26 years ago. It has provided me a life that I did not have in Somalia. We came here and we are thankful to be here. I've been educated here, got the opportunity to serve my community, to be a council member. I know many families are fearful tonight. They are. But I want you to know that City of Minneapolis stand behind you as the leaders, both mayors and the chief and everyone that's standing behind you are here to stand with you. Our community has lived through fear in the past. And we're not going to let us divide that. We're going to stay informed, we're going to stay safe, and we're going to support each other. We will continue to working our partners on the ground so residents know their rights. They know where to turn for help, and we know that Minneapolis will not abandon. One of the things I do want to say, and obviously everyone knows that our president is racist, xenophobic, Islamophobic, and we are going to fight that. America has a history of fighting and stopping those kind of individuals who continue to divide people and divide communities. Many Somalis that live in this community are working at your groceries, working at your hospitals, delivering your babies, they're doctors. They are very successful individuals. Now I would like to switch into Somali to speak to my community. Assalamu alaikum. Walaalayaal waxaan la hadlayaa community-ga magaalada Minneapolis. Anigoo ah Jamal Usman. Waxaan inii sheegayaa City Minneapolis garabkiina ay taagan tahay.
All right, we are listening in there to a press conference in Minneapolis. So U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has now been directed by the Trump administration to target undocumented Somali immigrants there in the Twin Cities. This operation, it appears, could be happening in the next few days or beginning in the next few days. And again, expected to zero in on people in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area there. This is coming after there have been so many different statements, both by the president and also by the governor, Tim Walz there, who have gone back and forth about fraud allegations. Again, the president making a comment that Somali refugees are completely, this is his words, completely taking over the once great state of Minnesota. The governor there saying he welcomes any type of investigation that would need to be had. But again, now it's turned into ICE enforcement. So President Trump has been increasing his efforts there in that area. The Treasury Secretary saying that this investigation into Minnesota tax money that's found its way to Al-Shabaab, which is a U.S. designated foreign terrorist organization and Al-Qaeda affiliate based in Somalia. So this is all kind of tied together again with the fraud investigation that's now turned into ICE enforcement in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area and throughout their state. So Minnesota has the largest Somali population in the U.S. It's numbered at roughly 80,000 people in that area. So hundreds of people are expected to be targeted in this operation that, again, could be happening within the next few days, beginning within the next few days. So Minnesota leaders now standing up saying that they are going to fight back. It is about 1:35 right now. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk about our weather here in this area. That's been a big talker over the last several days. And yes, today it appears we are without snow coming down, but that chill has set in and it might get a little deeper. So we have meteorologist Caitlin Cody who is standing by. She's going to join me to talk a little bit more about it after this. Welcome back, everyone. About 1:38 right now, and oh boy, is it cold outside. We've kind of been through it over the last several days here in Chicago.
Snow, then cold, then snow, then cold, then snow, then cold, and we're on repeat here. Yeah, today it's generally quiet. We do have temperatures below where we should be. Our normal high today is 41, just to remind you. And today's 25 is going to feel like we could be in the teens. So wind chill's really taking the front row seat today. But as we move into tomorrow, the chance for snow is back. Now, the snow is not going to be very impactful tomorrow. In fact, most of us getting under an inch of snow accumulation total. Temperature-wise, we're going to be balmy at 34 compared to what's happening after this cold front passes through. So tomorrow, again, mild temperatures, a little bit of light snow around, and then temperatures plummet down to about 7 as our actual low Wednesday night. And that 7 could feel like 5 to 20 degrees below zero with the wind chill.
Ooh.
Yeah, so this is going to be Wednesday night and Thursday night. So Thursday morning and Friday morning, if that makes sense, that it's going to be the coldest. And my concern is, you know, if you have to be outside, if you work in construction, if you've got kiddos going to the bus stop.
Yeah.
The early part of the day on Thursday and Friday is going to be dangerously cold. The silver lining for Thursday is going to be the sunshine. At least it's quiet, but our high is only 17. On Thursday,
The high.
high of 17 degrees. So Thursday, remember this, going to be the coldest, but even Thursday night, brutally cold. And then Friday, we're back to 24. We have a few clouds building Friday. There's a small chance for some light snow Friday night. And then this weekend, temperatures hovering around 30 with more snow possible Saturday night into Sunday. And then next week, we start off with dry skies and about 30 degrees. So we are going to be remaining below normal. These temperatures are going to be, 17, almost half of where we should be for this time of year on Thursday. And the remainder of today, this morning, we had a little bit of freezing fog out there.
Look at that. And we've seen people out running.
Yes. Brave souls
We've
running.
seen some people out at the lakefront running.
This morning at about 7, the bean, for the first time that I've ever seen, the daylight was happening. It was bright. And there was not a single person out there. Not
Smart.
a single one.
Smart.
Yeah, I was surprised. And then later in the morning, of course, now we've got a handful out there. But
Hey,
yeah.
if you've made the trip to Chicago, primarily if you're out at the Bean, you're probably visiting. So if you made the trip to Chicago and you just needed to see the Bean, you needed that picture.
Yep.
You're not going to let a little cold weather
You're
keep
gonna
you
do
from
it.
getting there. Yeah, you're going to go out there.
And you expect it. Holidays in Chicago. It's going to be cold.
Yeah.
That's what we're known for, right?
Yeah, it's a part of the festivity.
Yeah. Have you been enjoying the snow at all? I know you're out of town for a couple of days.
You know what? And the crazy thing was I was away where you don't need coats. So I had to wear the layers down and wear the layers back. And the layers sat for days.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you didn't even need a coat.
Nice.
Where I was. So coming back here, it's like, whoa, shock to the system.
Winter has arrived.
But we didn't get fall for that long. That's always my thing about Chicago is that fall, which is my favorite season, it's like boom. It just doesn't last long at all. We have summer, and we all love summer.
But then
and this is why we love summer.
The pumpkin patches were too hot this year. And
Exactly.
now it's Christmas and it's December 2nd.
Wild.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, it is wild.
Buckle up, everybody.
Now, we were talking about the heat needing to be on in here, especially this morning. Have you turned the heat on at home?
Oh, of course. But we're keeping it kind of cool, like 67. Tell me you have. What?
You know why I asked.
Are you serious? Are you wearing long johns?
I have not turned the heat on at home.
With your winter jacket? You've got a parka on at night. Anita, what are you doing?
I can't do it. Oh. I don't know. I don't know at what point that I will
if you had a
make
fish,
that switch.
It would be frozen right now.
I just can't do it. I did turn the AC off last night.
What do you mean you turned it off? What do you keep your temperature at? 53? With the windows closed?
I'm hot-natured. I get hot, and so I turned the AC off. I was like, "Girl, you're doing a little too much." So I turned the AC off.
What do you mean?
And then I turned the fan on because I was like, "I'm getting stuffy.
I think it's time for me to go. This is nuts. This is nuts."
Caitlin Cody.
You know what though? You probably saved some money.
Maybe. I don't know. That fan is still going, so we'll see. Thank you for coming up. I
No problem.
appreciate it. It's 1:42, everyone. We'll be right back.
Your air conditioning was on yesterday?
All right, 1:45, everyone. Thanks for staying with us here on Chicago Live. We are still waiting on that big announcement to come from President Trump that we do believe will be about the Trump accounts. These will be for children throughout the U.S. We knew that it was probably going to be delayed because the cabinet meeting lasted so long, but we want to talk about the issue or the topic that really ushered that in, and that would be a big donation that took place today for Giving Tuesday of $6.25 billion. This was donated by Michael and Susan Dell. They pledged this amount to provide 25 million children under 10 in the U.S. an incentive to claim the new investment accounts that will be announced shortly that have been dubbed the Trump accounts for children created as a part of President Trump's tax and spending legislation. I want to go ahead and bring in Victor Wang, CEO of Stockpile, to talk a little bit more about investment accounts for kids as we await this announcement. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me on.
Okay, so let me just ask you, before we even get the announcement, what is your assessment of what could possibly be announced? The possibility of these Trump accounts.
Yeah, I think the big thing around the news with Michael and Susan Dell, it's a huge and amazing commitment that they've made. It's money invested for the future that has enormous impacts, more than the money itself. It changes the perspective of kids and families. It changes their hopes and expectations for the future. It changes graduation rates. It changes college attendance. It can change the way an entire generation thinks about their future and what it looks like. And that really is the importance of that amazing commitment that Michael and Susan Dell have made.
Yeah, it really is about building wealth and changing, I guess, family dynamics working into the future. And as I understand it, it would be for kids in certain zip codes that make under $150, I believe, $1,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And, I think it's such a big thing with so many families in those types of zip code. They're living paycheck to paycheck. And more than most communities, it's hard to take that first step into investing. And so whether it's $250, $1,000, most importantly, it's a perfect way for families to start investing for their kids' futures. And from that learning experience with their kids, hopefully we're creating a whole generation of financial literacy, confidence, and financial opportunity, and really making everybody be able to take that first step. You know, there was this great marathon runner that had this great quote that said, the most difficult part of every morning run is the trip out the front door. So really what it is it's helping people take that first step that is so difficult for these families to take.
Yeah, I've run a couple of marathons, and I would agree with that. just getting out the door sometimes is the hardest step. So let's talk about, you know, how people. I do believe that that this broadens out the number of people, the demographics of people that would typically look at the stock market as something to invest in.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, it's one of the funny things is that a lot of people who don't invest, the biggest limitation is themselves. So many people feel like the investing opportunities aren't open to them, that it's reserved for a select few. And we really need to work to change that perception. And I think with the Trump accounts, with what Michael and Susan Dell have been doing, that's such an important part of the message that we're sending. That opportunity is open to everybody who takes the chance on it.
Okay, so what is the best type of investment account you would say for a child?
You know, it really depends on every family and their priorities. You know, there's 529s, which are specifically for college, but the world is changing. I think the thing about the Trump accounts that's really different is it allows them to do different things and not just college. You know, some kids have different non-traditional paths. They may want to start their own business. They may want to invest in a house. They may want to do different things besides college. And this gives that flexibility for families to plan out futures that might be different than just attending a traditional four-year college.
Yeah, that is a really good point. As more people look to options outside of college, traditional four-year colleges, especially there, that some former plans would only have a pipeline too. So I guess maybe the aspect of the U.S. government providing an investment account to children, do you think that you know, politicizes it and may turn some people away from it?
I don't think it does. I think most important is that it does that thing we're talking about, which is helping people take the first step, right? Creating opportunity, creating consideration to make those choices. You know, we're challenged because as a society, it's difficult for us to talk about money. You know, our studies show that over 50% of parents never talk to their kids about money. And when we have that investment account available to talk about with kids, that changes the entire dynamics within a family, that it's something to talk about rather than avoid. And this is a perfect opportunity to have that investment account be the thing, the center of how parents can start talking about that money.
And how would you talk to a child about starting to invest?
You know, the big thing is starting very simply and starting talking about things that they're interested in, right? I think, you know, lots of kids have interest in Netflix, Roblox, Microsoft, Apple. Talk to them about that. Investing is owning a small part of that company. And when we teach kids that, and that when you invest in those opportunities, that's a way to make money, that doesn't mean you going to a job and working for every minute. This is a way of making money with your money. And when we teach kids the power of that, then it changes the way they think about their time. So I think that's, you know, anything that's from their interest is a way to get them involved in those discussions.
I like that. I really do. So what do you think are some of the common mistakes then that families make or that parents make when it comes to investing and maybe helping the younger generation to understand the importance of investing?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistakes that most parents make is just never talking about money. I think, you know, we've seen quite a bit where the time that parents talk to their kids about money is when they're right about to head out the door to college, right? And that's a little bit late to have that discussion. But so when you can have those conversations early, when you have kids involved in decisions, when they have agency over their own decisions about investing, it creates a natural curiosity and interest. You know, it means they have the opportunity to learn. It means they have the opportunity to make mistakes and continue to improve. I think we all know kids often learn more from their mistakes than their successes. And we would obviously rather have them make mistakes with $5 or $50 rather than $50,000. And that's the opportunity of having those discussions and having those lessons at the earliest possible age.
Mm-hmm. So this essentially is tied to the idea that the country economically will continue to grow. Is that maybe risky, even politically, to sign off on? Because if there is recession, if there is a dip, it's all tied back to you.
It is, and I think that's actually an important real lesson for kids to have. I think the false lesson for kids to learn is that, hey, if you invest, you're always going to make money, and that simply isn't true. And one of the things, we have parents that say, well, if I have my kids invest, what if they lose money? That's a good lesson for them to learn, is that sometimes you're going to lose money, and you want to be thinking long term, not about the stock fluctuations on any particular day. In the long run, the stock market has continued to grow, but there are going to be peaks and valleys. And what's important for parents and kids to learn is that those are real and those are going to happen. And it teaches kids financial resilience. It teaches them patience. It teaches them long-term thinking. And those are things we want kids to know, the real circumstances around those decisions.
Yeah, that is important. So I'm seeing that it's pretty unusual that this would operate through investment accounts set up by the U.S. Department of the Treasury, but then be managed by private companies. Are there some pitfalls there?
Well, there's a set of rules around it, and all the rules are still being finalized, but there's a maximum on fees. There's maximums on the types of investments that they can make. They can't invest in like meme stocks. There's very clear guidelines of what can be done and what can't be done. And so that's one of the things I like about it, is that it's very clearly laid out of that it's not a free-for-all investing structure. It's very restricted, it's very limited, and it's a great way for people to invest in a safer way early on, especially people who are just starting to invest. It's a way for them to look at ETFs rather than individual stocks.
Mm-hmm. So I see that when the children turn 18, they can withdraw the funds to put toward their education, to buy a home, or to start a business. When you think about that, does that then, you were just speaking of like early investors, is 18 at that time when they're withdrawing, or have the possibility to withdraw? Is that where they can start to make their own decisions as to whether they continue to put in or invest differently, or maybe change the outlook of their accounts?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I think as an industry we like, is that it's creating a nation of educated investors who've been through that experience. So I think by the time they're 18, they've already had a number of years under their belt making these financial decisions. And at that point, making decisions about, is college right for me? Is starting a business right for me? Should I be investing in a home? All of those things are going to be decisions that they're going to be able to make. And hopefully in the process, they've learned the skills to be able to do that well.
Victor, so great speaking to you. And President Trump is speaking now about those Trump accounts. So we're going to go to him live.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Also, the CEO of Altamir Capital, Brad Gerstner. Where are you, Brad? Brad Gerstner is a terrific fellow who's very much involved in this incredible thing that we're doing today, along with the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Chairman of the Senate Committee on Commerce and Science and Transportation, Ted Cruz, House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Jason Smith, Vice Chairman of the House Republican Conference, Blake Moore, as well as the Chief Design Officer of the United States Airbnb co-founder, Joe Gebbia. I want to thank you all for being here. It's a great group. And I guess a potential Fed chair is here, too. I don't know. Are we allowed to say that? Potential. He's a respected person, that I can tell you. Thank you, Kevin. Today is Giving Tuesday. I don't know if anybody's heard that one before, but it is indeed Giving Tuesday, one of the biggest days of the year for philanthropy and charitable giving. And this afternoon, Michael and Susan Dell are committing to one of the largest private donations in American history, which will directly benefit the next generation of American children through the new Trump Accounts program that we created in our One Big Beautiful Bill. And Michael and Susan came to see me along with Brad, and they said, you know, this is an idea. And I said, I think, you know, it sounded just so good and so unique. But that's why he's been so successful, and they've been so successful in life and in business, because they're unique. Trump accounts will be the first, I guess you could say, real trust funds for every American child, allowing family members, employers, corporations, generous donors to contribute money that will be invested and grow over the course of a child's life to be used for their benefit after they turn 18. So in other words, these are children that are going to, an investment's going to be made. That investment's going to continue to grow, we hope, right? We hope. And, but it will. And they'll feel like Michael Dell someday. But at 18, they'll have a lot of money, a lot more money than they would have had, and potentially a lot of money. But these accounts will track the overall stock market and will be 100% private property controlled by the child's guardians. In honor of America's 250th anniversary, the Dells are announcing today that they are giving 25 million American children $250 each to save and to invest in their personal Trump account. Now, that's the equivalent of $6.25 billion. In other words, to put it succinctly, Michael and Susan are giving $6.25 billion in total, and as a total contribution. That's big stuff. I don't care who you are. That's big. Come here, give me a hand. Let me have a little of that luck rub off. That's fantastic, Susan. These gifts will be available to the first 25 million children aged 10 and under the zip codes where their median income is $150,000 or less. So they're giving them to children that won't be born particularly rich, and they're going to be hopefully very rich someday. This will give millions of dollars, millions of children, middle-class families, a stake in American prosperity, a benefit from the rising stock market, and a better shot at the American dream. It really gives them a shot at the American dream. Michael and Susan, I want to thank you for this extraordinary act of kindness and patriotism and charity. This is truly one of the most generous acts in the history of our country. I mean, you don't hear about things like that, and we got to let people know he doesn't want and she doesn't care about that, but I do. I think when somebody does that, you got to let them know about it. As I mentioned, this gift is being made possible by the largest tax cuts in American history, which our Republican majorities passed earlier this year, and the Speaker worked so hard, and John Thune and Jason and all of them, every one of them. Ted Cruz is with us. He worked so hard getting that done. That was the biggest, most consequential bill, they say, ever passed. And, you know, if they remember, Michael, they thought we had to put that in 12 to 14 bills. I said, I don't know if we can hold it that long with the Democrats. And we said, let's try doing it once. So we did, and people were surprised, but we got it done. So I congratulate you guys. Amazing job. Under that bill, the federal government will also automatically be making a one-time seed contribution of $1,000 into the tax-deferred Trump accounts for every newborn U.S. citizen, fulfilling a promise I made in the 2024 campaign. Trump accounts should grow to be worth many thousands of dollars by the time the child is 18, and even more by the time they are 20 or even 30 years old. We think it's going to be something really unique and really special. We hope many others will follow Michael and Susan's example and make their own contributions. I'll be doing it too, to the next generation, including businesses, churches, philanthropists, family members, and parents themselves. I think we're going to have a lot of people, Susan. I think a lot of people are going to be contribute. A lot of people are watching us right now. They might not be $6 billion plus, but there'll be a lot. There aren't too many people that are in the 6 billion range, but there'll be a lot. A lot of friends of mine have already told me they're going to contribute a lot of money, and a lot of them are going to leave a lot of money in their wills, so that's very important. And as you watch us today, I hope you'll be doing that. Contributions to Trump accounts will also be a great benefit for employers to offer their workers, which they'll be able to do tax-free. It's tax-free. We expect hundreds of major companies to announce plans to contribute to these accounts in the coming months, and we've had tremendous interest in that regard. So the Trump accounts will be available starting on July 4th of next year. And Michael and Susan, to you again, it's an amazing act of just incredible everything. I mean, the life you've led to be able to do this, even to be able to, a lot of people have a good heart, but they can't give $6.25 billion. And Michael, probably knowing you, it's not the last of it either. It's not the last. But on behalf of the United States of America, I want to thank you both, and I want to thank all three. But I want to thank you both because you've been friends of mine, and it's a spectacular couple. This is really an amazing people. These are unique. And I'd like to have you come up and say a couple of words and tell us what you have in mind, because what you have in mind is good. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. It's a great honor to be with you here in the White House. And, you know, when you passed the Invest America Act on July 4th of this year, we were really inspired to see that happen. And this is something that, you know, Brad had first mentioned to us in 2021. We thought it was a great idea then, and it's amazing that it happened. And we also saw that this act would become a platform. And, you know, we believe the smartest investment that we can make is an investment in children. And this act has created a platform for families and friends and communities and companies and philanthropists to contribute to these accounts to create a savings and opportunity and hope and prosperity for tens of millions of children in this country. And Susan and I are super excited to announce our $6.25 billion gift to 25 million American children, 10 and under, and our gift will cover most of the children that are 10 and under that are not part of the federal program, the 0 to 2-year-olds, and who also live in zip codes where the median income is $150,000 or less. And I have spoken with a number of other wealthy Americans, philanthropists, and we are confident that others will join us because we all understand the incredible impact that a gift like this can have on the lives of young Americans. So again, it's a great honor for us to be here to be able to announce this. You know, when I was 8 years old, I got a passbook savings account, and I had, I think, about $8 in it. And you go to the savings and loan, and you give them a quarter, and they'd stamp your account. And I got to see the power of compound interest early in my life. And that has brought me here to this moment. And hopefully will inspire that kind of opportunity for many more young people in this country. So again, thank you for the privilege of being here.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Susan. So beautiful. Thank you very much. Susan, would you like to say something?
I'd just like to say how excited we are to be a part of this. We believe that when children have a future that they can see is worth saving for, then that will help build hope and opportunity and prosperity for generations to come. So we're so excited to be doing this and hope to have many people join in our efforts. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan. So beautiful. Brad,
well, first, it's an incredible honor to be here, and we wouldn't be here without the passage of the Invest America Act. And everybody up here today played a role in getting that done. The Speaker, Ted Cruz, in drafting the legislation so that when the President placed the call to the Speaker and said, let's make this happen in the big, beautiful bill, Congress was ready to act. They had the legislation drafted. But I couldn't be more grateful for the friendship and the partnership of the Dells that really show the best of America. Today is Giving Tuesday, right? And the fact of the matter is, for decades, we've talked about the wealth gap. We've talked about too many people left out and left behind. This president was elected on a Main Street agenda to get the rest of America into the game. And that's exactly what this does. It gets every American child, 3.7 million children born every year, will now start life off with an investment account, seeded with $1,000. And then you're going to have great philanthropists, great Americans like Michael and Susan, who are going to add money to those accounts. We're overwhelmed with the number of companies that want to contribute to these accounts. Already companies from Uber to NVIDIA, T-Mobile to Charter Communications, Dell, et cetera, the list goes on. And every day more companies are calling us, raising their hands and saying, we want to be part of this. It's like a 401k from birth. It's a benefit for the kids of our employees, right? Major philanthropists. But I think what this is going to unlock is the power of families. Moms and dads Venmoing and Apple Paying and $5, $10, right? And getting these kids into the game. When we had the roundtable at the White House earlier this year, Dara Khosrowshahi, the CEO of Uber, said, you know, after fleeing Iran at the age of 9 with nothing, he came to America because it was the land of hope. And he said what the Invest America Act does is it bottles up hope for every child in America. Whether you're in rural Mississippi or rural Indiana, where I came from, inner city Trenton or Compton, you're now in the game, right? That act alone, I think, reinvigorates the American dream. It reinvigorates the idea of free market capitalism. Too many people are losing faith in you, sir. By passing the Invest America Act and getting all these kids into the game, this is a transformational act in this country forevermore. Every child starts off life in the game with a piece of the American dream compounding in the upside of America. So thank you for having us here.
I think the secretary first. I defer to the brains.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I think this is a major change in philanthropy and for American working families. It is the merging of President Trump's agenda of parallel prosperity, Main Street meets Wall Street. For the next 5 years, every child born in the U.S. will get a $1,000 Trump account that will be with them and compound for the next 18 years. Treasury Department with other branches of government is going to do financial literacy, and we are going to make sure that all American families have a stake in the success of the United States of America. So every day when the stock market goes up or down, and we believe over the 18 years it will go up and families will learn the power of compounding, that it will be a game changer. People who have a stake in the system and become more and more vested in the system, they do not want to bring down the system, they want to make it better. So I think we will look back on today and know that these Trump accounts, they have started a new age of the capitalism and market interest for the whole country. I also think that it is a game changer, as we're seeing with Michael and Susan Dell today, that Americans are the most generous people in the history of the world, and the Trump accounts will provide a vehicle for philanthropists such as Michael and Susan and many more to contribute. And at Treasury, we are working, so Michael and Susan want to do it for children born in the past 10 years, a certain income level. As Brad said, it can be tailored, it can be to employees. It could be a philanthropist could adopt a state, they can adopt a school, they can adopt a zip code, they can adopt a street. And so we will constantly see these accounts be topped up. For those of you on the Treasury, will be running this on the operational side. For those of you who would like to, you can go to trumpaccounts.gov today and see the homepage that has a basic outline. These will become operational on July 5th of this year. And we will have families start signing up for them. So And that homepage will answer all the questions on eligibility and investments. And then finally, today we're here on Giving Tuesday. Michael and Susan have led the way, but I think that there's a chance that every Tuesday can become Giving Tuesday as more and more philanthropists see the power of this, of giving to American families, giving to American children, and giving everyone a stake in our great economy. So thank you very much.
I'll be brief.
Well,
There's
we
a
were
lot of
listening in
symbolism.
there to this major announcement about the Trump accounts that were passed as a part of the Invest America Act, going back to the big, beautiful bill in July 4th of this year. They will become active in July 5th of 2026. And as a big help, a big boost to it, billionaires Michael and Susan Dell pledged $6.25 billion that will be a part of that. So essentially they were saying this is like a trust fund for every child, and especially in zip codes with a median income of $150,000 or less. They hope that this will be an investment that will then grow over time, kind of being like a 401k from birth, essentially there. So through their gift, the Dells, from their gift, they'll deposit $250 into each qualified child's investment account. And then this will begin again coming up this upcoming summer. And then under the new law, the Treasury will deposit $1,000 into the accounts of the children born between January 1st of 2025 and December 31st of 2028. And essentially employers and other philanthropists would be able to add to those accounts over time. So a big announcement coming today off of the heels of a what could be a historic pledge by the Dells of $6.25 billion that will now go to American children. It's 2:15 right now. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. It's 2:17 right now, and I think heads turned, eyes kind of popped open when we heard the news that NFL QB, former QB, and now Fox Sports host Tom Brady had cloned his dog. But if we are being honest, most of us who have dogs for extended periods of time, you become so close to them. They are a member of your family, and it is so hard to let them go. So now, 2 anti-aging medications for dogs are being tested in clinical trials. And I want to bring in Dr. Brendan McKenzie, Director of Veterinary Medicine for Loyal, to talk a little bit about them. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you, Anita. Happy to be here.
All right. So tell me, I'm seeing the names of the 2. Is it Loy 002? And what is the other one? It starts with an R.
So we have 2 drugs that actually several that we're working on, but the 2 programs that we're working on involve drugs for large breed dogs, because as we know, they don't get to live as long as the smaller cousins, and drugs to keep dogs metabolically healthy. So we have Loy 1 and 3 for the large breed dogs, and Loy 2 for everybody else.
Okay. And how would this work? I mean, do you start giving it to them early in life, or once they start showing signs of age? Is it at a particular age?
Yeah, so for Loy 2, for example, which is the leading candidate that we're hoping to have available in the next year or so, that one would be started at age 10, and we're doing a clinical study, which is the largest clinical study ever in veterinary medicine. We have 1,300 dogs at 70 vet hospitals across the country, and we're currently looking to see whether dogs who are 10 and older who are given that drug will live longer and be healthy for longer.
Okay, the other one, it looked like a rapamycin. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah, rapamycin is a drug that has been studied in rodents, particularly for lifespan extension. It's actually used in people for dogs for people who are getting organ transplants. That's not a drug that we're working on, but I know there's a group called the Dog Aging Project who is looking at that one as a lifespan extension drug as well. So it's a really hot growing area in veterinary science, and there are a lot of things being looked at right now.
What are the risks?
Well, I think that, because we're taking a preventive approach, we want not only to have dogs live longer, but of course we want them to stay healthy for longer. That's what's really important. And so safety is the #1 concern. And we are following the FDA's approval process, which is a very robust and rigorous process to make sure that we look out for any potential concerns. Currently, we haven't seen any signs of anything that we're worried about. We think this is going to be a safe and effective drug, but obviously we're going to have to go through the entire scientific and regulatory process before we can say that.
Yeah, and when we speak of like reducing incidence of the severity of age-related diseases, I remember my last dog I had for 15 years, and in those latter stages you had like kidney disease, there were seizures and things of that nature. Is that what you're speaking of?
Yeah, aging is the #1 risk factor for almost everything that goes wrong as our dogs get older, from arthritis to cancer to dementia. All of the things that we see them suffer from ultimately trace back to the biology of aging. So our idea is, rather than sort of playing whack-a-mole and waiting for each disease to appear and then treating it, why don't we see if we can target the biology of aging itself and then delay the onset of a whole bunch of these kinds of problems at once? And that's our hope.
Why now? Like, why hasn't this been done before? It's, us loving our dogs so much we do pretty much anything to keep them around isn't anything new.
I think we're at one of those kind of classic tipping points where there are actually decades of basic research that's been done, which doesn't get as much attention, and we finally have achieved sort of an understanding of aging and how it works that is different. And we finally realized that we don't have to just shrug our shoulders and say, hey, aging is just part of life. It's actually just biology, and we are beginning to understand enough about how it works that we can start doing things to change it. So I think it's just a really good moment in time for dogs and for humans.
Are there some other things that you would suggest? I mean, one, when do you think that these drugs, if they're in a clinical trial right now, when would they be available? And then two, in the meantime, what are some things that we could be doing that maybe have anti-aging-ish effects?
So our first product, Loy 2, we're hoping will be available in about the next year or so. That's the one that's about halfway through a 4-year clinical study, and we're hoping to have that under conditional approval earlier than that. In terms of things to do now, the basics are always still the basics and really important. So keep your dog at a healthy weight. Food is love, and we just love to give them treats, but if they're overweight, that's going to make them age faster and shorten the time that they have with us. Make sure they get lots of activity, lots of stimulation, keep their brain young, just like you do for humans. A good healthy lifestyle and good regular veterinary care are always going to be the foundations of a longer, healthier life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then what do you think the cost would be for something like this?
I mean, we aren't at the point where we know exactly what that number is going to be, but we recognize that for this drug to have a meaningful impact and to really help as many people as possible, it has to be affordable. So our goal is for it to be as accessible and available to as many dog owners as possible.
Would you get it just like any other prescription for your drug, for your dog, like, you know, just through their veterinarian, or would there be some type of special prescription for this?
Yeah, it's a prescription drug, so it would be definitely something that you would get through your veterinarian, whether you get it directly from them or through an online pharmacy. There are lots of different options there, but it's something that we want people to work with their veterinarian to say, you know, is this the right choice for my dog, and how does it fit into their overall care?
Mm-hmm. What do you think? I mean, this is kind of where we are now, and with the anti-aging. But you heard me talk about when I was coming to you about like Tom Brady cloning his dog, which is a totally different level, I know. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that, you know, that's a case of something that's available as a technology, and that some people are doing. I've had a few patients who have been cloned dogs. It's not going to be practical or available to everyone. It's very expensive, and there are, you know, ethical questions about that. The good news is that there are lots and lots of dogs available in the world that need good homes, and that I think that's a great opportunity for most of the rest of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and would these drugs prevent or just lessen some of these diseases?
So the goal is to maintain health, function, good quality of life as long as possible. That will hopefully mean delaying the time at which some of these diseases start and making them less severe when they do start. The way that we make dogs live longer is we keep them happy and healthy as long as we can, and that's what the drug is intended to do.
Mm-hmm. The technology that you're using, did it come from things that we're already doing for humans, or in contrast, do you see more doctors for humans looking to you all and thinking, oh, we should be doing something like this for us?
Yeah, the good news is that dogs age in ways that are very similar to humans. I mean, they live with us, they share our environments, and they share a lot of similar biology. So we know a lot from basic research in humans and other species about how aging works. And our CEO, Celine Halaua, came up with a thought that was really a obvious but also a brilliant thought, which is, hey, can we take the knowledge that we have about how aging works and actually develop therapies to make people and dogs live longer? And dogs are obviously, you know, where we've started, and I'm a veterinarian, so that's always going to be where I work. But because there's so much similarity, I think if we're successful in giving dogs a longer and healthier life, there will definitely be things we can learn from that will be applicable to people down the road.
Yeah, why dogs and not cats? I know somebody watching is going to ask that.
Yeah, cats are wonderful. We have lots of cat lovers at Loyal, and I hope someday we can do something for them. The truth is that we know a lot more about dogs and how they age. There's just been a lot more research about it, and so, you know, it's the better place to start, but it's not the end.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And when we say extending a life, are we talking a couple of years, 7 years? And I think we ask these same questions, you know, even for us as people and our family members, when you come into latter years of life and something happens, or even just as you age, you know, okay, if I start taking this, is it actually going to give me like 5 more years of life, 10 more years of life, or like 1?
And the reality is, I don't think we know a specific number in general. I think what we suspect is it's going to be enough to matter. So, for example, there have been studies of other kinds of interventions like restricted calorie intake in dogs that have extended their life by about 2 years. And so that might be a reasonable target. And if you think about sort of how long dogs live relative to people, 2 years for a dog might be, you know, like 15 years for a person. So I think it's going to be enough to matter. I think the reality is, as a dog owner and a dog lover myself, I don't know anyone who wouldn't take any good quality happy time that they can get with their dogs, and the more the better.
And will it be a pill or will there be different forms?
So for the first drug that we're working on, LOI2, that's going to be a chewable tablet. So that's something you give every day. There are some other products that we're working on that might come in other forms, but that's often the easiest and most practical way. So that's where we're starting.
Okay, very interesting stuff. Again, we want to keep our furry friends around as long as possible. So we'll see where this goes. And you said it could possibly be out by next year.
Yeah, we're hoping at about a year or so.
Okay. All right. Great talking to you. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Take care. It's 2:28, everyone. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. It's 2:30 right now. Thanks so much for staying with us here on Chicago Live. I think that every generation obviously looks at every aspect of our lives differently, right? But now there's a new study that finds American teenagers dislike the news media. And so I'm like, oh, Houston, well, Chicago, we have a problem. Peter Adams, Senior Vice President of Research and Design with News Literacy Project, is joining me now to talk a little bit more about what's going on for these 13 to 18-year-olds in the U.S. and why they don't like what we do every day.
Well, it's great to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Okay, so how did you all come up with this study, and how many teens did you survey?
Yeah, so we actually published an initial study last year in 2024 with about 1,100 American teens, a representative sample of American teens, and found some alarming things. We asked, for example, if they think that professional journalists and the organizations they work for do more to protect democracy or harm democracy. 45% of American teens said they felt that that the press does more to harm democracy, which we found quite alarming, but also we wanted to learn more about that attitude. Only about half, a little over half, thought that journalists and news organizations take journalism standards like accuracy and fairness seriously. 80% thought that journalists fail to create information or produce information that is any more impartial than other content creators they see online. And almost 7 in 10 thought that news organizations intentionally add bias to their coverage, which is represents a real disconnect from the way that newsrooms actually operate. So this past spring, we put another survey in the field with those same teens, asking them more questions about how they thought newsrooms operate, and we found some big disparities and a big disconnect between how teens think journalism works and how it actually works.
And I'm seeing here that when asked to describe media today, 84% of the teens responded with something negative like biased, crazy, boring, fake, bad, depressing, confusing, or even scary. You mentioned content creators, and I do think that content creators and really social media has changed the game in terms of how young people see the news and value how they receive news.
Certainly has. I think, this generation is dealing with a frenetic, busy information environment, and they're largely accessing it through social media platforms that are optimized for engagement, which often means they're optimized for outrage and anger and fear and curiosity, which isn't always compatible, right, with credible information, or doesn't promote credible information. So the algorithms that teens are turning themselves over to are kind of privileging some low-quality information mixed in with some standards-based information for sure, but I think it results in some confusion, right? So one big question is, what do teens think of as news to begin with? Are they talking about standards-based hard news reporting from a standards-based news organization, or are they sort of lumping together everything and anything about current events? And we think, based on what we've seen in this survey, some of our conversations with educators, our surveys in the classroom, that it's the latter, that students have an overly broad lens when it comes to what they consider to be the media or the news media. And so I think one big step is helping teens have a more accurate perception of what they're looking at. If it's a straight news report versus an opinion piece versus someone on social media who's just talking about current events. These are important distinctions, but they're easily lost in the flood of our feeds. Yeah, you talked about the flood of our feeds. So let's talk about those algorithms and whether teens feel like their voices are being heard. Is that a part of the problem, that they don't feel like they're represented, or that their generation is characterized the way that they would feel that it should be? We don't have anything in the study about representation of teens. I have no doubt that many teens feel misrepresented as the generation. I think that's true of a lot of folks who look at news coverage. But we don't have anything in this particular study about representations of teens. It was really about teens' attitudes and ideas and knowledge about the practice of journalism, their information habits, and their outlook and attitudes when it comes to news and journalism. I'm sorry. Were they looking for specific topics to be covered? Like what were they looking for from the media? So we asked them questions about how much they trust journalists to produce information that's fair and accurate. Again, they felt like they didn't see much difference when it comes to standards-based news versus other forms of information. One big important finding from this follow-up study is we asked them how often they think journalists engage in various actions, and we gave them sort of 4 things that journalists do just about every day that are actually constitutive of the practice of journalism. So, how often do you believe that journalists correct errors when they happen, or gather information from multiple sources, or verify things before you publish them, or cover stories that protect the public's interest? And we found that only about a quarter, between 23 and 30% on those 4 questions of teens feel that journalists do this always, almost always, or often, total. Conversely, when we ask them how often they think journalists engage in highly unethical actions that would, in any legitimate newsroom, be career-ending, or at least job-ending, giving advertisers special treatment in exchange for an ad buy, making up details, fabricating quotes, doing favors for sources, taking photos and videos out of context on purpose, about 50% of teens said that they think journalists do this always, almost always, or often. And so that's a real concern. That represents a true disconnect between the way we know newsrooms operate, not that they're perfect, but those kind of ethical lapses are relatively rare in a standards-based newsroom, But the things that students thought were less common are actually things that happen every single day in newsrooms across the country. And so part of our mission at the News Literacy Project is to close that gap and help students have a more accurate understanding of the role that the press plays, and also help them be better positioned to call out problematic coverage when they see it, but appreciate, exemplary high quality journalism when they see it as well.
True. Yeah, I think that's so important because, again, their scope of what they see as news these days is so broad. And I can just, think back to like coming in the industry over 20 years ago and how hard it was in terms of, the fine lines of, the standards that were set and the things that you needed to do. Like you said, checking for multiple sources and making sure your information was correct before going on the air. And so many things have changed over time, but you also see that anyone can pick up a phone now. Anyone can go live from their phone now. And so things get blurred in terms of what people actually believe is, a trusted source.
It is, and I think people have a tendency to kind of lose track of where they heard a given thing. If you scroll through your feed for 15 or 20 minutes, you're going to see posts and information and claims and headlines, including, some that are accurate and standards-based and high quality, and you're going to see some hot takes from people you don't know, and you're going to probably see some propaganda mixed in from people you don't know. It's easy, I think, to lose track of who published what and where you saw it, right? Our social media feeds are sort of designed to make all of that look the same. But there are big differences and distinctions to be made between the sources of this information. And I think that's a vital lesson for this generation, and something that, that we're trying to help them navigate in, again, what is an unbelievably complex information environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it comes at you so quickly these days, too. When I think about the ages 13 to 18, I also think about the political time that they have been raised in and hearing the term fake news.
Yeah, look, I think, people for decades have loved to hate the press and loved to hate the media and take issue with news coverage. Some of that's healthy, right? Some adversarial sort of critiquing of coverage and pushing news organizations to be better, to be more representative, to serve the public is an ongoing endeavor, I think, in every quality newsroom. But certainly the antipathy and hostility that I think we're hearing expressed toward the press, sort of across the political spectrum. You can open up Twitter, you can open up Blue Sky, you can see it in comments all over social media. It isn't helpful. And we did ask teens how concerned they are in that first survey about the decline of the press. We've seen, according to research done out of Northwestern's Medill School, that about 40% of American newspapers have closed since 2005. And we asked teens, how concerned they are about the sharp decline in the number of news organizations, especially local news organizations, over the last 20 years. And 67% said that they were little or not at all concerned about that decline, which says to us that, they don't really understand the role that quality local news organizations play in a community. As the basis for a kind of healthy information ecosystem where people can, certainly disagree about the facts. They can disagree about policies, but we can't disagree about, the reality on the ground. We should have some basis, some common basis for that conversation. And when that goes away, when we, wind up in a news desert, all sorts of bad effects follow. So that was another alarming finding, the sort of disconcern for the decline of standards-based news organizations, and a lack of recognition about the role that the information those organizations play in our lives, in our civic life.
Yeah, and for the teens that you speak with, the teens that you survey, do they feel like doing this survey in and of itself is a part of your literacy project, giving teens a platform for their voice and their issues to be heard?
Yeah, so to be clear, for the survey, we weren't directly in touch with the teens. We contracted with a company called SSRS that does representative sample surveys, nationally representative surveys. So we provided the questionnaire, they provided the data and verified it. But we do work directly with teens and educators in classrooms, and that is our great hope, right? That we have sort of 5 big areas of emphasis on helping students differentiate between the different kinds of information they encounter, helping them understand the role that the First Amendment plays and the protections of a free press and the press plays in public life, helping them recognize what the standards of quality journalism are, the importance of accuracy and fairness and independence and transparency, helping them avoid viral misinformation and propaganda and conspiracy theories. And then the 5th area helps them sort of draw all that together and put it into action, whether that means speaking back to news coverage that they feel could be better, highlighting exemplary coverage, giving a tip to a local news organization, or taking more care and publishing credible information themselves using their own voices and their social media feeds, all of which we've seen educators do with students in the classroom using our resources.
And I guess on the flip side, it also helps inform those of us who are journalists as to where we may be going wrong with a younger generation that we're always wanting to reach.
Absolutely. I think in the absence of clear explanations about how decisions are made in newsrooms, people will fill in the blanks. And so I think newsrooms can always do more to explain the process, to explain the kinds of conversations they have about what to cover and how to cover it, to own up to mistakes, to clarify things that people criticize online, and to be responsive and to show people that you're listening and engaged with your audience is absolutely a lesson that I think every journalist in every newsroom can take away.
Yeah, we can all learn something from each other. Peter, great talking with you today. Thank you for your time and your work.
Thank you so much.
All right, you take care. 2:43 right now, and boy, there is a situation that's taking place in Old Town right now at the K Square Apartments. We just heard about this. Eleni is on the line, and she is going to go live for us from inside to tell us about a fire that's taking place there. Eleni, thank you for your time. Can you hear me, Eleni?
There we go. Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm okay. How are you?
Doing okay. I'm hanging out by the window right now, trying to air out a little bit.
Okay, well, what exactly are you hearing is happening in your building?
Not much. I was sitting here at my desk working, and next thing you know, it smelled like a campfire, and the smell came on pretty strong, so I immediately knew something was wrong. Opened my door, hallway's already smoky. Grabbed my shoes and jacket and ran to the stairwell, and you couldn't even see a foot inside the stairwell. It was completely filled with smoke. At that point, we still hadn't had any sort of fire alarm. My neighbors were starting to come into the hallway, so we were all swapping numbers, trying to stay communicating, but our best bet was staying in the unit because that's where we could at least control the smoke. My neighbor had a mask for me, and eventually they came on the PA, said they're evacuating lower levels, but anyone higher up should just stay put, so...
Okay, what floor are you on?
14.
The 14th floor, and you're still not hearing any alarms?
Still no alarms. I mean, once in a while they'll come on the PA and just repeat the same message, but right now we can't leave yet. So it sounds like the fire's out, and they're trying to evacuate people on the lower floors, but been up here for about an hour now.
How many floors does that building have?
22.
Mm-hmm. What's gone through your mind, and what have you done in the time period that all of this has been going on?
I mean, I did start putting together some sheets and tying them up. The pool deck's not too far from here, maybe 3 stories down. Hoping I didn't have to use that, but I mean, better than sitting here helplessly, I guess. But yeah, I mean, a little crazy we didn't have any fire alarms. My neighbor told me that there was a fire a few years back, and they don't set the alarm off for the higher floors just so people don't start panicking and running down. I'm not really sure. I haven't gotten an email yet. She has, so I'm getting my information through her.
Mm-hmm. So she got an email?
That's what she said, yes.
Okay. And the communication to you all through the email, I mean, again, you're hearing it from her, but they're telling you all to stay put?
Yes.
Have you all ever done a fire drill in the building?
We have not.
Wow.
So, none of us really knew what to do, especially on the 14th floor. We kind of were stuck here, so we didn't really know what the protocol was. But this is a good opportunity to figure that out now, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Especially if the fire is out, thank goodness, you all are okay, and hopefully everyone on the lower floors are okay as well. Would you show us the sheet that you tied up? Can you show us that?
I started
Oh
whittling together my
my.
sheets. I don't know if you could see much. I don't know how to angle it.
Oh my
but,
goodness.
Yeah.
And so as of right now, you don't know what started the fire?
No. No, I'm not on Citizen, but people were saying there's videos on Citizen, and it was coming from the 3rd floor. So
Coming from the 3rd floor. Did they see flames from the 3rd floor or just smoke?
I guess both. I'm not really sure. I didn't see the video myself.
How scary was this for you?
At first, definitely panicking. I called my dad. It was his idea to start putting the sheets together, so I at least had some sort of game plan. I mean, he's out there now. It looks like the fire is completely contained, so feel better knowing that much. But yeah, immediate panic because you don't know what to do in that situation, and we're so high up, and there's smoke everywhere. So we just hadn't thought it through yet, what to do in that kind of situation.
What else was going through your dad's mind? What else did he say?
He was very calm. That's why I call him. He's good in these situations. He says, stay calm. All you can do is figure out a way to help yourself. And he was like, go grab your sheets, get them off your bed, get the extras, and start putting them together.
Wow. Well, thank goodness he was able to talk to you calmly and that you're okay, and that the fire is out, most importantly. And we're certainly hoping that everything will be all right there, that everyone is okay in the building.
Yeah, hopefully. So hopefully we hear more soon.
Yeah. Is there, I know you've got the mask on, but is there like a smell? Are you still smelling smoke?
Yes, and there was smoke in the unit. It sounds like my roommate said, or not my roommate, I'm sorry, the girl across the hall, my neighbor, said that they're trying to pull the smoke out now. So it's a little bit less smoky. I haven't opened my door to outside the unit yet, but she's the one who gave me the mask. I can still smell it, yes.
Wow, okay. Well, we certainly hope that you'll be okay, and again, that everyone in the building is as well. Thank you so much in the midst of it all, taking some time to tell us what was going on.
No, thank you for having me on.
Mm-hmm. All right. Again, that was at the K Square Apartments in Old Town. We are thinking about them and praying all is well, and glad that the fire is out. It's about 2:50. We'll be right back. 2:51 right now, and how often have we heard from so many different facets the term know your rights? It's so important in so many different facets of life. But the AI lab at the University of Chicago Law School has today launched a tool called the Lease Chat. This is a free AI tool that's supposed to help renters across the country analyze your lease and understand your legal rights. I want to bring in Kimball Dean Parker, the head of the AI lab at the University of Chicago Law School, to tell us a little bit more about this. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I'd first like to know why you all chose to create this.
You know, the law for renters is so complicated. They have to know the law in the country and in their state and sometimes even in their city. They also need to know what's in their lease. And so that combo of kind of knowing the law and knowing what's in their lease can make it very hard for a renter to know what their rights are. You know, we wanted to use AI to make that information more accessible, to present it to them in a way that they can understand it.
Yeah. How long did it take to create this?
We took on the project during the fall term this year, and we've built this tool within 8 weeks with a group of 10 students. And the students have done all the work. So they've coded the tool, they've done all the legal research, they've organized the marketing and the outreach. And our goal really is to help as many renters across the country as possible.
Yeah. What are some of the pitfalls you think renters get into when it comes to their lease?
Yeah, great question. You know, again, the law varies in every state and city. In some states, for example, a landlord has to give you 12 hours notice before coming to your apartment. Some places it's 24 hours, some places it's 48 hours. You know, in some places, when you have an emergency repair, a landlord has just a few hours to make that repair. Sometimes they have 24 hours. And it's a little hard to know, like, what is the landlord supposed to do for me? Or what rights does the landlord have to come in my apartment? And there's so many issues like that in landlord renter law. And then again, on top of that sits the lease, and the lease may have different terms. You know, the lease has terms that aren't covered by the law, like whether you can have pets or, you know, whether you can have other roommates. And some of these leases are over 100 pages long. And so it's very hard for renters to know what they can do under the law, what they can do under the lease, what their landlord is supposed to do. And again, you know, AI is great at that. AI can help take in all that information and present it in a really accessible way. And so we've wanted to leverage that to help renters nationwide.
Yeah, and so I'm seeing in your release that there are more than 40 million rented properties in the U.S. Did you look at how many rented properties there are in Chicago? And did any of this, your research, focus on Chicago first?
We did. You know, we built this at the University of Chicago, and we had Chicago in mind. You know, I went to the University of Chicago and lived in Chicago for several years, and I rented an apartment there. And so all of my students were renting apartments. Most of the law students in the school were renting apartments. And, you know, especially we thought a lot about the south side of Chicago. The south side of Chicago is full of apartments. There are millions of people living in apartments in the greater Chicago area. And we built this tool to, you know, specifically really help renters in Chicago. The incredible thing about AI, though, is that if you build a tool like that, it can help anybody anywhere. It can help renters in Cincinnati or San Francisco or Los Angeles or even small towns in Iowa. The AI we've programmed it to help kind of suss out what the law is in that location and to put it into plain language so that people can understand it.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the different tools or the different features, let me say, for the app. The lease analyzer, if it's, so you upload your lease and the lease chat will analyze the terms, point out any red flags. What are some common red flags?
You know, a lot of the red flags are fees. So if you lose your key, if you're late on rent. There can be excessive fees there. Some of the red flags are also like sometimes the lease will be against the law. Like the lease will say the landlord can enter the apartment at any time, which is not compliant with the law in many locations. And so it'll point out areas where the lease conflicts with the law in that city. So that's kind of the first tool, is that renters can upload the lease, and we'll use AI to outline the terms and to point out any red flags. Another functionality is you can ask questions about your lease. So once it's uploaded, you can ask it, hey, can I have pets in my apartment? And it'll answer you, and it'll cite to a section of the lease. It'll say, actually, you need to get permission from your landlord. This is on page 52, paragraph 3. So it can help you ask questions about your lease, and it'll respond to it. The third thing is it will outline the law for you. It'll say, hey, under the law, this is how much time the landlord has to give you notice before entering your apartment. These are the rules around returning your deposit. These are how quickly they need to make repairs. And then finally, the last functionality is the tool can help renters write letters to their landlord. So it has a template letter that it can write for you if you have a repair that you want to make your landlord aware of, or if you're going to miss your rent for some reason, or if you need your deposit back. So we've written kind of a series of templates that AI helps us write for renters so that they can assert their rights and communicate in a constructive way with their landlord.
Yeah. Okay, so where do we find this lease chat?
It's at www.getleasechat.com. So that's GETLEASECHAT. Getleasechat.com.
Is there a fee?
It is free to use nationwide. Yeah, so we built it again to try to help as many people as possible, and so there's no charge. Anybody can use it across the nation for free.
Tell me about the meaning or the impact this has on the students who are a part of building something like this.
You know, it's a really incredible experience. AI is changing all the time, and I think it's something that, you know, to really understand it, you have to get your hands in it. You have to use it. You have to, you know, see, oh, hey, if I change this prompt, how does the answer change? And so, you know, to get our students using that tool and building something for someone else is really, we think, a unique experience that's you can't find anywhere else in the nation. We're the only law school who has a program like that. And you know, I think the other thing I love about it is again, it makes the students think about another group, like other people, and it makes them kind of have to put themselves in the shoes of these people and think like, oh, what is it like to have an issue with your apartment and not know what the answer is, or to need help writing to your landlord. And so it builds that empathy within those students that's really key to building a successful software product.
I love that. I love that. So what protections are in place to keep the tenant data that they're inputting into this lease chat and the communication secure?
Great question. So we give a disclaimer. Nothing, lease chat is not an attorney. It can't substitute as legal advice. There's no like attorney-client privilege with the information that they put in, but we've implemented some security controls and some retention policies to make sure that we don't retain the information longer than we need, and that it's protected while we have it.
Well, I think this is pretty awesome stuff, and especially for the students to be a part of it. So was this like, it was their project for this semester? Is it something that a project that you try to put together for each semester? I mean, how do you top this?
We're going to teach this AI lab every year, and we'll pick really a topic that people struggle with if they cannot afford an attorney. You know, these are tools that we want, that we hope can help millions of people who don't have the kind of resources that maybe some more wealthy people in our nation have. You know, who maybe have neighbors who are top lawyers who, you know, they can talk to them and get their advice, or they can pay for advice. on kind of these issues. Most people can't do that. Attorneys are too expensive. And so every year we're going to pick an issue that we think, is really difficult for people who can't afford attorneys, and we're going to try to build an AI tool that can help with it.
Yeah, there's so much conversation about, obviously the positives and the negatives of AI. How do you see this as expanding that conversation?
Well, I think that, building tools, legal tools for people is often not like a profitable business. Some businesses have made some money on it. But most of the AI tools that have to do with law are geared towards businesses. And, big businesses that have a lot of money, because that's the easiest way to kind of, build a startup and is to target big businesses. And, we haven't wanted people to be left behind there. We want people to have access to the same just incredible AI legal uses that the big companies and big law firms have now. And so, we've wanted to, again, bring that technology and the best practices from that technology and serve a community who really needs legal help.
Mm-hmm. And do you offer it in multiple languages?
We do, yes. It is available right now in English and Spanish. And so there's a little, when you go on to getleasechat.com, there's a little toggle on top that lets you toggle between English and Spanish.
Now, this could really help a lot of people. Thank you so much for sharing it with us, creating it, and sharing it with us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right. I hope a lot of people will make good use of it. 3:03 right now. We'll be right back. .305 right now. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Chicago Live. We are in our final hour. And of course, it's Giving Tuesday. So I am super excited that we have the opportunity to speak with the leaders of a couple of organizations that are doing wonderful things throughout Chicagoland who need our help to do even more. I want to go ahead and bring in Susanna Wickham, the new president and CEO of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Chicago, to talk about what they have going on. It's a busy time for you all.
It sure is. This is the busiest week of the year and a really busy season, but it's so much fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you had a big event at Navy Pier yesterday, right?
Well, yesterday we told the kids that they are going to be the first kids in Chicago to see the Navy Pier Winter Wonderfest. It opens to the public on Friday. On Thursday, they're going to get an exclusive preview and get to go on the rides as many times as they want. It'll be 125 kids in a space meant for thousands. So it's really special.
Love it, love it, love it. And then you have a club's wish list. Tell me about that.
So every year we gather holiday gifts for the kids at all of our clubs. We gather thousands of gifts, and they're usually donated by caring companies, individuals, people who might donate gifts to a particular club. And we look for gifts about $25 or $35 in value, and we like to make sure every kid gets at least one gift. But what happens is usually we don't get everything we need and we have to buy it. And that comes out of our operating budget, but we do it anyway. And there are a lot of things in the holiday season that we wind up having to buy. So we decided this year we would just ask for those items and we would let people know. So for instance, there are families that come to us and maybe nobody in the family has a gift. And our club directors will keep a stash of items like gloves and hats, cold weather items to give to family members, not just the kids, because there are so many people in need right now. But our wish list, we decided to treat it really expansively and not just the gifts that we give kids, but things that we need at our clubs. So you'll see on there that we need computers. And so someone could buy a computer for the club. And we even need a new roof on one of our buildings. We thought, why not let people know what we need? You never know what can happen.
Yeah, put it out there in the atmosphere. I'm sure someone can come through. You all support 15,000 youth. And this Giving Tuesday is just such it's one piece of the pie to all of the things that you all do throughout the year.
That's right. And we used to receive a good amount of funding from the government, and that changed in the last year. We lost about a third of our funding. And so we really are turning to our supporters and asking them to help us close as much of the gap as possible so that we can continue to serve the needs of the kids that come to us. What many people don't know is that there are parts of Chicago where there are not a lot of resources. There aren't places to go after school that are free and safe and warm and provide food. And that's what we are for the youth of Chicago. And the kids who come to us, I know you know this because you've been so involved with the organization. You've emceed our Youth of the Year event. And so you see the kids that come to us, they really want a better life for themselves. They want to go to college. They want to achieve. They're ambitious. They know that there's a whole big wide world out there and they want to see it, and they come to the clubs to get those experiences. And so we want to make sure that we're here. We've been here over 100 years for kids in Chicago, and we want to make sure we're here for the next 100.
Yeah, when you meet the youth, it just makes you want to do even more. And thank you, for speaking of my time with Youth of the Year. Listening to their stories each year is always so inspiring. It's so heartwarming, and again, it makes you know that, like, okay, there's so much more as a community that we could all be doing to support them as they rise. Like the shine is already there, the light is already there, but there's so much more that all of us can do as a community to help them shine.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of times people can get really down on Chicago, and they can get down on crime and all the things that are going wrong. And when I'm at the clubs every day, I see everything that's going right. I see the kids that are thinking about their futures, that are making plans, that have big dreams. And we need to be a place and continue to foster that place so that kids can explore all of those passions in a really healthy and caring environment. So it's wonderful for us to be able to offer that, and we just want to continue.
Yeah, you talked about the federal cuts that have impacted Boys and Girls Clubs of Chicago. How has the demand changed in the last few years?
Yeah, I would say that demand is definitely up, and I think that we're seeing, so the club that I'm based in is our Jordan Club, which is near United Center, and we see the teens coming in droves, and that's a wonderful thing to see. We want teens to come here. We try to make the space as exciting for teens as we can, and as warm and as inviting. They have a dedicated space in each of our clubs, but there's certainly a lot of demand. And then we also see an ebb and flow. There's been so much happening over the last few months. We saw with people being afraid to leave their homes that some of our clubs were impacted. And whenever there is community violence, we see an impact in the number of kids attending because people aren't always as comfortable walking around their communities. And so we're there day in and day out, and we welcome as many kids as we can every single day. And we want to make sure that we have the ability to do that well into the future and to have space for everybody who wants to come. And right now we do.
Yeah. Susanna, talk about the wide array of programs you all offer for teens in our area, because I was blown away the first time I came out and just saw like, oh, the dancers or the public speaking or, yes, of course, there's sports and just so many different things going on.
You're so right. So when kids come here, the first thing they do is every club has a game room, and there's a chance for them to kind of unwind and play any sort of game. And it could be a game of pool, which, believe it or not, there's learning that happens there because you learn how to resolve conflict, but all sorts of games. And then they can go into homework help. We have something called Power Hour where they get support doing their homework. And then we have sports leagues throughout the year, every day, basketball, floor hockey, you name it. There are so many fun things going on that because kids want to play and they want to be active, and it's healthy and wonderful for them to do that. And then we have that whole pillar based on achievement. And so we have our Youth of the Year program, and we have programs for girls and for boys so that they can be among their peers and they can learn about being good citizens and building character. So really there is a wide breadth of things that we do here. We also have art classes, science classes, just everything fun that you can imagine, and field trips too to get them out into the city. We have a program called Share Chicago, so we have kids next week going to see the Nutcracker at the Joffrey Ballet. We really want to make sure that all the kids that come to our clubs have the opportunity to take part in all the best things of Chicago.
I love what you all do. I love your mission, and I love seeing the kids smile. And for sure, lives are saved and changed through you all's programs. So now, if people, obviously the wish list is going on right now, but on a regular basis, if people want to donate, what do they need to do?
They go to bgcc.org, so that's short for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Chicago, and they can donate $10. That helps close the gap from lost government grants to provide one day of programming for a kid, and then on up to we need a new roof in one of our buildings.
Yeah. Do you all have some matching donations going on?
We do. We have a $25,000 match going on today, so it's a wonderful time to donate.
Okay. And besides donating, with all the different things that you listed off, I'm sure some mentors, some people, who can physically be there are needed as well.
Yeah, and all of our clubs have club councils. So each club has its own dedicated, like a mini board of directors that are people in the community that help do all sorts of things. So for instance, last week, one of our clubs before Thanksgiving gave away 100 turkeys and Thanksgiving baskets. So there are a lot of opportunities to do things that just help support communities in need.
Yeah. I think it's so important that our youth are surrounded by positive role models. And again, I just really appreciate what you all do on a regular basis. And I advocate for anyone to help out in whatever way you can. And there are so many ways, as we've discussed, to be of service to those who are being of service to our youth in this area. Susanna, always great talking with you.
I just adore you, Anita. I thank you so much for shining a spotlight on our kids and their needs. Together, we're making Chicago a better place to live for everyone.
We can do it together. You take care. Happy holidays.
You too.
All right, 3:15 right now, everybody. I hope that your heart is a little warmer. And again, there's a little tug there to do a little bit more. We're not done with our Giving Tuesday conversations. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back with another organization that's doing outstanding work as well. 3:18 right now, everyone. We're continuing on with our Giving Tuesday conversations here. I have Ashton Clark of 100 Black Men of Chicago. Today is a big day for their organization. Thank you so much for taking time.
No, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. How are you?
I'm doing very well, a little bit better. Just, having these conversations about the best of Chicago right now. Tell us what you all are doing. And if people don't know about 100 Black Men and 100 Black Men of Chicago Incorporated specifically, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so we are a mentorship first organization here based in the city of Chicago. And a lot of what we do is focus primarily on mentoring, but we have education, health and wellness, and economic empowerment. And so our job as Black men is to give back to the communities in which we serve. And the reason why today is so important is because we have one of our biggest events of the year, and that is 100 Black Men of Chicago Holiday Party and Toy Drive, which is 2 nights starting at 6 p.m. at Soldier Field at their United Club specifically. So we're gonna be partying with a purpose and making sure we do everything we can to make this Christmas and holiday season a little bit brighter for those in need this year.
What are some of your goals for tonight? What are you trying to raise? How much are you trying to raise?
Yeah, so we have a 30 for 30 campaign going on right now. So this is our first year really doing this using the technology that we have. But we're trying to hit at least $30,000 this evening. That's for the first part. And then secondly, we want to be able to collect thousands of toys, which we do every single year. And what I will say is that every year the event seems to get bigger and bigger as we start to, get out there. But at the end of the day, we're collecting toys, we're collecting coats, because there are a lot of families and children and young people out there that need them. And we want to be a good source to provide them.
I think it's fantastic that you can say that each year it gets bigger, and the need is growing as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, interestingly enough, we get contacted by many organizations and individuals who say, hey, are there, can my organization get some of the toys that you all are collecting on that evening? And what I will tell you is that our members, the way our process works is that our members who are in the organization will submit a few organizations that they want to support. And then those are mostly the organizations that we do support. And what that means is that we have a personal connection with the organizations that we support. So we want to go there, drop off the toys, and take part in making sure that they receive them.
Yeah. 27th annual. That is amazing that you all have been able to keep this going consistently for that long. Tell me about what goes behind it, the drive behind it.
Yeah, and that's a very good question, because I get asked that often. The drive behind it is that, we want to do good in the hood. At the end of the day, if you think about the world that we live in, even the country that we live in, there is a lot going on, some positive, some not. And we want to actually showcase the positive things that Black men are doing, specifically here in the city of Chicago. So for me, it's, there's a quote that says, service is the rent we pay or you pay for living. And one of the things I often say is that I wake up every morning asking myself, after I thank God for waking me up, is, how did I pay my rent, or how will I pay my rent today? And this is one of the primary ways that I do so, because I will tell you, outside of all of the 1,000 plus 2,000 people that will be there over the course of the night, the thing for me is seeing the young people receive toys that they otherwise wouldn't have received if it wasn't for the work that we do. That is what drives me at the end of the day.
Yes. Okay, so you all receive toys and donations tonight. At what point do you all start to give those away?
Yeah, so so what happens is that we have sponsors, and I can just tell you who they are: Enterprise, Walmart, the BMOA, Black McDonald's Owners Operators Association, Bally's here in Chicago, Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, as well as Google. And so we partner with a lot of them to get toys. Some of their organizations will actually have their companies collect toys and then give them to us. Some of the organizations will actually have their stores provide toys to us. But the other thing that I will tell you is that we have different tickets that are tiered, right? So one of them is that you can get admission for a nominal fee if you bring a toy, right? And so a lot of people, whether they use that ticket or not, will still bring a toy. And so what happens is that tonight we're going to get all these toys, and then we're going to start to sort them, right? And then we're going to try to make sure that we have the right toys for the right organization. So we started a little bit earlier this year. Usually we've done it towards the middle of the month, but now we're starting the first week of the month, and we want to get ahead of this because we know there's a lot of organizations who are looking forward to us providing these toys to them.
Yeah. Tell me about how that feels when you all are seeing the impact from this night.
Yeah, it's I will tell you it's a labor of love. And what I will say is that, there are some days with anything that you're like, wow, this is a lot of work. But to your point, right, when I see these young people and these families that their face, you know what I mean? I know for those that have kids or are around kids a lot, it's something about a young person's smile that drives me, right? So somebody that could have been having a bad or a poor day for whatever reason, and they see the 100 black men show up with toys, right? Can you see this pen? This pen, I don't know what side the camera was on here. This pen, this is my first time doing this on Zoom, by the way, but this pen means something, right? And so we wear it, and I wear it proudly, but when we show up with these toys and these gifts, and we see the excitement that they have, that is what drives me. And so I've been doing this for years. I plan to continue being involved in doing this because at the end of the day, we want to make an impact. And again, black men are doing phenomenal things. And I'm glad you were taking a moment to showcase some of the work that we're doing here in Chicago.
Well, it's important, and we love to see it. And I love your passion for the work as well. So this is one event, one work, one project that you all have for the year. What are some other things that you all have going on throughout the rest of the year?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So we have mentoring sites that, we mentor young black men here in the city of Chicago. We have other organizations and things that we partnership. One is called Programmers, and that's an organization that teaches young people how to code. If you think about it, we're in a world full of, Google Gemini and Chat GPT and all these things in robotics. And we wanted to basically partner with NSBE here in Chicago to be able to help young people get exposure to that, right? Because STEM or STEAM, however you want to kind of say it, is important, right? The technology space is key, and we want to be a part of it. And outside of that, we have a gala that happens usually every year. We have other parties that we have. We're notoriously known for our white parties. But again, today is the holiday toy drive. This is one of the marquee events of the year. And so it's not, and I want to be clear, the events are great. They're the icing on the cake. But what we do behind the scenes is making sure that we are providing a positive impact in the communities that we serve, such that people know that, one, we exist, and that, two, we are here to support them.
Yeah, I think it's so important that people know, the other things that go on beyond the parties. If people want to, let me ask you a couple of things here. If people want to support you throughout the year, what do they need to do? And maybe there's somebody who is seeing this that's like, oh, I want to be a part of what they do. What do they need to be one of the 100 black men of Chicago?
That is a really, really great question. So one thing you can do is go to 100bmc.org. That is 100bmc.org. And there's a lot of information about what we do and some of the activities and events that we have going on throughout the year. So check that out. There's a button on there that you can donate. I would tell you today, as you know, is Giving Tuesday. So we are very appreciative for those who are willing to support our organization for any amount, because every dollar that we collect makes a difference. And in terms of your second question, how do you get involved? One of the major things I will tell you about any organization is you have to see what we do. And one of the things that I would suggest is that if there's anybody out there that's interested in being a part of our organization, primarily black men, but we have other individuals, black women and others across the city who support us, is by volunteering, right? So you can certainly volunteer to work at one of our mentor sites. You can volunteer to partner with me at our toy drive. I would say that is one of the fastest ways for you to get acclimated with our organization. And by doing so, you will start to meet some of the brothers of our organization, be a part of that impact. And then when we have another member intake session, you will actually know all the brothers and probably have a very good chance of going through that process and being a member.
Ashton, why is it important that people see black men doing this work?
Because I often say, and I'm just going to be candid, I believe that black men are extraordinary, right? The things that we endure and the things that we go through, but we're being a beacon in our community is important to see. And one thing I will tell you that's actually changed my perspective on a lot of things, and I know this because I've seen it so many times. When you see a group of black men in a suit or in suits, it changes things. It changes the dynamic of the environment. And so when you see us walking around, not only just with our pens, but we're interacting with those that are in the community, we're making a difference with, young people in the communities that we serve. That has a lasting impact. And the last thing I'll leave you with is that when we speak to parents who are engaged with our organization and those who reach out, one of the first things they say is, how can I get my son or daughter engaged in your mentoring opportunities? Because we want them to be around, especially for the young black men out there. It is important for them to be around other young, or not even just young black men who are participating in the program, but black men. right? Because black men, is even myself as an example, I mentor, right? I've been through a lot, seen a lot of things, and one of the things that I can do is not only relate to some of these young black men, but also help guide them so that they don't necessarily have to go through some of the things that I went through. And I think that is something that we have to do to pay it forward and actually, end up asking ourselves, right? Did we pay our rent today? And I think that's important for all of us to ask ourselves every day. And then if we're not doing that, do something to make it happen.
Yes, you're preaching. So on a final note, I'm sure there will be some people who will watch this and say, wait, is it only 100 of them? I know the answer, but explain it.
There's some history there. I know we don't have enough time to get into the in-depth history, but it depends on the membership size. But we can have less than 100. Sometimes we have significantly more than 100, right? But at the end of the day, we're uniting around bringing men together to do phenomenal things in the community that we serve. And whether we have, 60 black men or 200, we are going to go and hit our communities and do what we need to do to make sure that people know that we're here, that our presence is felt and heard, and that we are making a difference in the communities that we serve.
Are tickets still available for tonight?
Oh, they absolutely are. If you want to party with the purpose, have a good time with the 100 Black Men of Chicago. Tonight is your night, 6 p.m. tonight at Soldier Field United Club. You can get your tickets directly at 100bmc.org. Or if you're familiar with Ticket Falcon, go to ticketfalcon.com, type in 100 Black Men or type in Toy Drive. The event will come up and there will be tickets still on sale. So I look forward to seeing everybody who sees this there tonight as we party with the purpose and make a difference in the communities that we serve.
And Don Hasbrook from right here at Fox 32 will be the MC for tonight's big event.
Absolutely.
Wonderful having you here on the show.
Thank you.
You are such a great representative of the organization. I know you're a good alpha man as well. So thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. You
All
take
right.
care.
You take care. It's about 3:30, everyone. We'll be right back. .332 right now, and typically when you think about elections, you're thinking November, maybe May, but today there is a special election in Tennessee in their 7th Congressional District. It's normally a conservative stronghold, but there's a bigger conversation happening with it and maybe more eyeballs than ever before that will be on it tonight. So I want to bring in our own Asher Red. Thank you so much for giving us a better picture of what's happening there. Long line behind you.
Yeah, Anita, and the line keeps getting longer as people are getting out of work. But I will say that President Trump is weighing in on what both candidates here have been echoing this entire race, and that is that the whole world is watching what will happen today. A upset win for the Democrats in what's usually a GOP stronghold here in Tennessee could spell trouble for the Republicans in the 2026 midterms. Now, President Trump won this district by more than 20 points in the 2024 presidential election, but this congressional race is much tighter, with numbers showing Republican candidate Matt Van Epps, who is a combat veteran, leading by a razor-thin margin. Trump has also been zeroing in on Democrat Afton Bain, a former social worker who he calls a left-wing lunatic, partly because of her controversial comments she made in 2020 about hating Nashville and country music. And mind you, Nashville, part of Nashville at least, is in this congressional district. Bain's been doing her best to deflect questions about those comments, but Republicans aren't letting it slide.
Yeah, what was her reasoning? Has she given any type of explanation?
Well, she says that she was a private citizen at the time. This is before she got involved in the legislature. This was back in 2020. And she says now that she has represented people in Nashville for the past few years, she has a different mindset. And she did tell me yesterday in a one-on-one interview that she is confident that she would not have said that at the time had she been a legislator.
Okay. What are some of the issues that it seems are driving people to the polls?
Yeah, well, for Democrats, a lot of it boils down to health care and tax cuts. Afton Bain is telling her supporters that she wants to lower the tax cuts and lower the cost of living. However, the Republicans, who are totally for the health care, totally for the tax cuts from what they tell me, they also say that those policies that the Democrats are putting out there and pitching to its voters could actually end up rising taxes and rising the cost of living here in Tennessee. And this district has been gerrymandered as well, heavily gerrymandered to put parts of Nashville in with very deep red parts of the state. And both sides have talked about that gerrymandering, Democrats specifically saying that is an issue and they want that resolved soon.
Have you talked to some of the people in line about their experience today?
Yeah, well, a lot of them are cold. So right now it is actually, I don't know if you can see, it is snowing. But we are out here with the line of people. The line's about 20 minutes long, I would estimate. And once you go inside, it zigzags, so people get warmer when they go in. And some of the voters here today are telling me that they're going to stick it out because they're excited, mainly because they know what is at stake here. Democrats and Republicans are like, they seem friendly with each other today. They're respecting each other's points of views. We've seen some people talking back and forth about what they believe in and what they're voting for. So that's encouraging going into such a tight election like this one.
Ashton, tell me a little bit about the margins in Washington, D.C., how this would shift numbers.
Yeah, well, this, of course, if the Democrats win, would add just another seat to the congressional, to Congress in Washington. And it's important to know that what happens here is sort of like a barometer or a litmus test of what the 2026 elections could look like. And that could, of course, like I said earlier, spell trouble for the Republicans going into those midterms. And we know that this year could be, again, another tight race. As a lot of people around the country are voicing their opinions more now than ever before.
Well, it's very interesting to watch what's happening there. It's been a while, I think, since we've really, across the country, paid close attention to a race, especially a special election. And why are they having this special election?
Well, they're having this special election because the congressman who currently holds this seat for the 7th District of Tennessee is stepping down. And so that seat must be filled. This person will come and fill this seat next year. And again, both candidates are very confident that they have what it takes to win. When I asked Afton Bain yesterday if she's confident, she says she's going in to this election with, you know, a clear head on her shoulders and just positive thoughts this whole time. And she thinks that, you know, bringing in the big guns like Al Gore, former vice president, also former vice president Kamala Harris and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez will help her get over that finish line. But also the Republicans brought in Donald Trump yesterday into a tele-rally, and also Speaker Mike Johnson, who called Donald Trump at a rally yesterday morning, and also Senator Marsha Blackburn, a Tennessee senator, and Tennessee Governor Bill Lee. So there's a lot of big names being thrown into this race, and millions, and I mean millions of dollars have been spent.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, how that's translated into the finances here. All right, we'll see what happens tonight. Thank you so much, Asher.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. It's at 3:38, everyone. We'll be right back. $340, and not only is today Giving Tuesday, it's Travel Tuesday. Janine Tornator, our travel expert, is joining me now to talk all about what we can get today. Moving into the holiday season and beyond, everyone's minds are already on like, okay, what deals can I get? What deals can I get? And there's a lot of them today.
There are, and you're right. This is yesterday, Cyber Monday. Today is Travel Tuesday. And it's not just today. You know, we see these retail deals kind of throughout the month of November, and it's very similar for travel. Nearly every brand in every travel category has deals happening right now. Today is kind of the day when they want everyone to get online and check those out. But many of them will run through the end of this week and into next week in December as well. So it's definitely a great time. You can find some of the best deals of the year if you're willing to really think about what you want to book into 2026 and do it in the next week.
Okay, so if we were not prepared for today, because it seems like this would have been a good thing to like prepare for, already have mapped out the things you wanted to get today, but if we were not prepared for today, where do we start?
Well, you can kind of start wherever you want. Think about what do you want to do in 2026. You know, a lot of people are looking at those bigger bucket list trips. One of the categories where we're seeing some really great deals are those experiential, immersive, guided tour trips that focus on food and culture. You have brands like EF Go Ahead Tours. They're one of the most respected in the industry, offering 25% off of their trips today. They have, the big food and wine guided tours in Tuscany and Umbria. They have guides that do all the logistics and take you on these trips and teach you about them. So that can be a really great category to look at if that's something that you have for your bucket list in 2026. Another category, we're right in the heart of the big booking window for ski season with all the ski resorts opening in the last few weeks. Great deals in places like Utah right now. They have what they call their Ski Utah Passport. This is for 4th, 5th, and 6th grade kids. So if you have children in those age groups, they have what they call their Ski Utah Passport. It's $89, and it gives those kids in those grades 3 days of skiing at each of their 15 resorts. So 45 days of skiing for these kids for $89. That can be a really great one if you're looking for that family trip out west this winter. So again, you can look at any travel category. There's so much out there. There's a lot of all of the big hotel brands have sales right now. Marriott has 25% off for its members. Hyatt, 30% off for members, 25% off for non-members. Fairmont, 30% off. Cruises have a lot of great value adds, those onboard credits that you can get right now if you're looking at booking a cruise into 2026. So again, across the board, there's deals out there today.
And then for flights, are we looking at like, specific airlines or vouchers? What are you seeing in terms of flights?
There are a lot of airlines out there now, from the big carriers to international carriers. Lufthansa, JetBlue, Hawaiian Airlines, Alaska, Aer Lingus. I've kind of seen them across the board have different types of offers. Most of them are just sales that they're having right now. So getting discounts on flights into 2026. So I definitely would check out all of those major airline websites today if you're looking to book a flight in the coming months, and see what they're offering. Some of them are to specific destinations. So they can be a little more limiting, but it's definitely worth checking out to see what's out there. Another thing I would recommend travelers look at is not just these discounts on prices, but a lot of the category brands out there have other value adds. So that's important to look at too. So resort credits, those onboard cruise credits, extra nights at hotels. Sometimes there's loyalty perks added on to some of these. So those can be important to look at as well.
Oh, I like that. Have you seen anything for Amtrak?
Amtrak does have deals out there. I can't remember off the top of my head specifically what that is, but I know they have some really great deals out there for rail travel as well. Another thing I would recommend travelers do if you're thinking about hitting book is make sure that you're reading the fine print on anything that you want to purchase. Sometimes these deals can have less flexible change and cancellation policies, blackout dates. You want to see if they're refundable or non-refundable. So, always make sure, especially on a day like today when you may feel hurried to book something and get that deal, that you're taking the time to read that fine print and understand exactly, if you need to change it in the future, are you able to do that?
Yeah, when we saw like the headline Travel Tuesday this morning, a lot of people were like, I've never heard of that. When did Travel Tuesday become a thing?
Well, it started several years ago, but I think it's kind of become a little more legitimate in the last couple of years. Early on, there were some travel brands doing things, but now nearly every travel brand in every category has some type of offer out there. And some of these are really significant when you look at some of these hotel brands offering 30% off of hotel stays. That can really, have a big impact if you're planning something like your spring break trip. So they're definitely worth it. They've grown over the years, but certainly now there's something out there for everyone.
And we've talked about it from the consumer standpoint, of course, but how important is a day like this for all of these corporations or the airlines or, the businesses?
Yeah, it's extremely important for these businesses, especially as they look ahead to 2026. And you look at something like cruise lines that may be looking to sell cruises during their off season. Another example is, we talked about those guided tours like EF Go Ahead tours. They're really pushing people traveling during their slower period. So March through May, where you're already going to find discounts because it's a slower season. And for the consumer, you can actually stack those slower season savings on with these big discounts right now and make it even better. But for the brands, it is important for them to try to get travelers during these slower periods to take advantage of some of these deals.
Yeah, what are the deepest discounts you've seen? The ones that like stuck out like a, like, whoa.
Yeah, I think some of the hotel deals, the 25% off for some of these guided tour bucket list trips, that can be significant because some of these things can be higher dollar purchases. When you look at 30% off of a hotel stay, if you're staying for 4 or 5 nights, that's essentially going to be at least a free night stay. So if you think about it in those terms, it can be significant savings.
Are you concerned or warning about any scams?
You should always be on the lookout for those. My recommendation is always go directly to the trusted brand sites that you know. Look at brands that the big names, the Marriott's, Hyatt's, travel brands that you know and trust, and make sure that you're going directly to their website, not clicking on something you got in a text or an email that appears to be from them, as we should know by now. But, type in, Marriott.com or whatever that website is, go directly there, make sure that you're seeing that same information and that you're booking directly through them.
Are there any other things that like pitfalls to Travel Tuesday that people fall into? I thought it was a really good point that you made about, the fine print that people, maybe skip over for a day like this. But are there some other pitfalls to today that we should avoid?
I wouldn't say there's any pitfalls. I think, again, it's just making sure you understand if some of these deals have maybe a little tighter restrictions or have blackout dates, and really think about, when am I going to go? Is this deal going to specifically work for my travel needs and the window that I want to travel? So again, that kind of goes back to looking at the fine print. But I will tell you, because Travel Tuesday has become, really legitimate and big, all of these major brands truly do have really great sales going on, and they are trying to more and more, to be competitive, make them as flexible as possible for travelers so that they will book them. If they're too restrictive and too many blackout dates, people won't book them. So I do think in general that they're very flexible and that very useful for travelers, but again, make sure that you're making sure it does work for you.
What about going through sites like Booking.com or Expedia, Priceline, any of those, versus going to the actual hotel or car rental or the airline?
Yeah, all of the major online travel agencies, Expedia, Hotels.com, Orbitz, Booking.com, they all have their own Travel Tuesday and kind of cyber sales this week as well. So they are definitely worth checking out, especially if you want to look across hotel brands or different brands within other categories. Expedia has 30% off select hotels. I think it's similar for hotels.com. So those are definitely worth checking out, especially if you're a loyalty member with any of those as well. You can accrue points, obviously, and rewards through all of these brands. So whoever you like to frequent, go to their website and check them out, because chances are they're going to have a great sale going on.
And I remember, like, for Black Friday, there were some sites that kind of listed out like the best deals. Are there some sites that list out maybe the best travel deals that you would recommend?
I always like looking through major travel writers, bloggers. I mean, if you go on and Google, what are the best Travel Tuesday sales right now, you're going to find some really great sources just from major news outlets. So I think that's one of the best ways to go to make sure you're getting legitimate information. But if you certainly have sites that you like to frequent, like an Expedia, and you click on that site, you're going to see right there on the homepage what their best deals are. But there are aggregates online. If you do a Google search, you'll figure out what they are pretty quickly.
And there's some best cards. There's a million, of course. Cards that accrue points or whatever for travel. But are there some specific cards that you say, like, no, this is, if you're really going to, make some plans, this is a good card to use?
Gosh, it's really hard to say depending on who you frequent. All of these cards have partnerships with different travel brands. and some of them are better than others. I don't really have any specific details on right now what would be the best. A lot of times these cards will have different offers throughout the year. I like to stay on top of those to see sometimes where you can accrue some of the best points. But they many times have really great reciprocal programs with the airlines and with hotels. So see, if you're a brand loyalist, you want to kind of compare that with the different cards to find out what really makes sense for you.
Okay, you've given us a wealth of information to go forth and conquer. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Great to see you.
Great to see you as well. It's 3:52, everyone. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's 3:54 right now. Let's take a look at how things are shaping up on Wall Street and look at the big board here, and you can see where things finish for the day in the green. It is wonderful to see that, especially after some red that we saw yesterday as we started off the week and a new month. And of course, November was kind of topsy-turvy all over the place. But now we're seeing some gains here. Apparently, this is behind Bitcoin and some technology names as traders are recovering some ground that was lost in previous sessions here. So you can see the Dow Jones finished at over 185 points. The S&P 500 climbed 0.25% today. The NASDAQ Composite advanced 0.5. So all of those things are good to be able to see again as we went through kind of a mixed bag last month and even just saw some red yesterday here. I'm seeing that traders are currently optimistic that the Federal Reserve will reduce its target rate at the conclusion of next week's policy meeting. So we'll put that on our radar. Again, that is a big meeting here, and it's spurring some optimism here that there could possibly be a reduction in the target rate. Of course, the last time we actually heard from the Fed chair, he wasn't so sure that was going to happen, but there's clearly a reason for the optimism here. So we'll see what happens again with that. That is coming up at the end of next week. But again, good to see that we have ended the day in the green, and hopefully we see much more green in the days to come this week. It's 3:55. We're going to take another quick break, and then we'll close things out. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks so much for being here with us again on Chicago Live. We'll be back with you again tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and we'll be on the air once again until 4 p.m. We have covered a lot of ground today, and we will look forward to doing the very same tomorrow.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at 4.
Now at 4, you're about to hear the 911 call from a local mom who ended up giving birth on the side of the road after the hospital turned her away.
Plus, the latest update from court on the potential release of hundreds of people who were taken into custody during Operation Midway Blitz.
And we are finally getting a break from the snow today, but it is still pretty cold out there. Good afternoon, I'm Terrence Lee.